The Steamship Authority is a proud partner in many Falmouth community events, including town meeting coverage. And for good reason. Not only do we have a terminal and offices here, about 1/3 of our employees call Falmouth their home. We always work hard to serve our neighbors, friends, and the traveling public. We recently put 7 new electric buses into service at our Falmouth parking lots. Soon we'll be adding new vessels to our fleet, continuing work on our energy-efficient Woods Hole terminal buildings, and adding solar panels at our largest parking lot. At the Steamship Authority, we're serving the islands. And you.
Welcome to the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce.
The Falmouth Chamber is dedicated to working on behalf of our members to make Falmouth a better place to live, work, and conduct business. We are committed to developing the economic, cultural, educational, and civic interests of our community and welcome the support from all organizations to achieve our combined goals. Whether you call Falmouth home, are a summer resident, or a visitor, we hope you take advantage of all that the Chamber has to offer.
Hosting services for fctv.org are provided by MegaNet Communications. MegaNet offers a wide array of internet services including Mega Backup Cloud Service, server colocation, T1, fiber, Metro Ethernet, as well as telephone services such as hosted PBX and digital voice. Their #1 goal is to keep your communications network up and running and allow you to focus on growing your business. 877-634-2638 or meganet.net.
Good evening and welcome to the meeting of the Falmouth Select Board. It is Monday, May 19th, 2025. It is exactly 6:30 p.m. And as I call this meeting to order, I'm going to ask that you please silence your cell phones and please double check that they are indeed silenced. And please notify me as the chair if you are making a video or audio recording of this open meeting session. The placement and operation of this recording equipment should not interfere with the conduct of this meeting. And I'm going to ask you to please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we do have a proclamation tonight. I would ask that Select Board Member Doug Brown present.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. This is a proclamation in recognition of celebrating Pride Day 2025. Whereas lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersexual, and asexual Pride Month, LGBTQIA Pride Month, is currently celebrated each year in the month of June to honor the 1969 Stonewall riots in Manhattan that marked the beginning of the gay rights movement in the United States. And whereas the town of Falmouth is committed to celebrating diversity and working to diminish isolation, bias, and prejudice, and to promote connection within the LGBTQIA community with the allied community and with the community at large. And whereas transgender and non-binary people in particular face severe and increasingly daunting challenges and threats, and whereas the town of Falmouth prides itself on being a welcoming and inclusive community that celebrates diversity, and now, therefore, we, Nancy Robbins Taylor, Edwin P. Zielinski II, Douglas C. Brown, Robert P. Miscali, and Heather M. H. Goldstone, members of the Falmouth Select Board, do hereby proclaim Friday, June 13th, 2025, to be Falmouth Celebrates Pride Day in the town of Falmouth, and urge all our citizens to observe Falmouth Celebrates Pride Day with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. In witness thereof, we have hereunto set our hand, caused the great seal of the town of Falmouth to be affixed on this day, May 19th, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Is Diane? Is Diane Dollador here to accept the proclamation?
Have we all signed it?
Do we have the proclamation?
Is it in the folder?
Should be in here. It is not in there.
Details. Are we signing this one?
Do you have the original?
Is there an original?
We should have an original in a packet, and we do not.
What binder? It's not right there.
We'll sign the one we have on hand and then replace it.
So we will sign that one, and you will get an official one with the seal of the town of Falmouth for you. Thank you all so much. And thank you. Wait a minute. Okay, we will move into recognitions. Recognitions from the board. I'm going to start with Ms. Goldstone, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have a lot to celebrate this evening, but we also suffered a loss over the weekend, as many of you know. Oh, and I'm going to tear up. Falmouth High School class of 2025 lost someone in a tragic accident on Saturday night, and I'd like to make a couple of recognitions related to that. First of all, to Kathleen Jesperson and Sandy Cuny, who have kept celebrations after prom a safe space for our students to celebrate after prom for so many years, and this time it became a safe space for many of our students to process the devastating news. I would also like to recognize our first responders who do the incredibly difficult, both physically and emotional, work of responding to these kinds of accidents. And I would like to recognize our Human Services Department, Sharing Kindness, and the school district for the counseling and the support that they're making available to our students and our community as a whole as we process this tragic loss at a time of what should be celebration for our seniors.
And if we could just take a moment of silence for this young lady's family, I would appreciate that. Thank you. Other recognitions?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Mr. Muscali?
First, I'd like to recognize police officers Julia Massey and Jake Manure, who were instrumental in setting up the Federation Gala event the other night for Cops for Kids with Cancer. They did a terrific job. Mr. Brown and I were both there. They raised somewhere north of $30,000, so they should truly be recognized. In addition, I'd like to recognize our own Alan Wilson, who has been nominated by State Senator Dylan Fernandez to be honored at the first annual Military Appreciation Day, which will be held May 22nd at the House Chamber, Massachusetts State House. And then finally, I have two certificates I'm going to stand for here and read them out. This is a certificate of recognition. This honor is bestowed upon Edwin P. Zielinski II for your professional, dedicated, and honorable service to the town of Falmouth as Select Board Vice Chair and member of the Town of Falmouth Select Board from 2022 to 2025. This certificate is awarded by the Falmouth Select Board this 19th day of May 2025, signed by Nancy Robbins Taylor, Chair, Douglas C. Brown, Robert P. Muscali, and Heather M.H. Goldstone.
Thank you.
Okay, and then finally, this certificate of recognition is bestowed upon Nancy Robbins Taylor for your professional, dedicated, and honorable service to the town of Falmouth as Select Board Chair and member of the Town of Falmouth Select Board from 2020 to 2025. This certificate is awarded by the Falmouth Select Board this 19th day of May 2025, signed by Edward P. Zielinski II, Vice Chair, Douglas C. Brown, Robert P. Muscali, and Heather M.H. Goldstone.
Thank you all very much.
So we also have a couple of tokens of appreciation from those of us remaining on the board. And Scott, to start with you, you were the first one to call and welcome me to the board. We have not always seen eye to eye, not always voted the same way, but we have found patches of common ground and built relationship, and I appreciate that. And so a small token in appreciation for your passion and service.
And Nancy, I have something for you as well. And first, allow me to, on behalf of Falmouth, thank you for your years of service in administration and as a school superintendent. That alone is worthy of praise. And now your service on the Select Board takes it to another level. You and I have worked together for a long time, and I think we've always collaborated effectively, and you've been a good leader. And I appreciate sincerely the 3 years that you've been on the chair on the board, because you've brought a lot of changes, a lot of positive. You brought the time constraints, the organizational skills, and you've really made the board more effective, and I appreciate that. And I'm going to miss you on the board. I think we're all going to miss you, and I think you're going to miss us. But I think there's something else that you're going to miss, so I got you this.
So when you get lonely, you can bang it at home and
Oh, give it away. Give it away, the secret.
bring out at the calf.
Personalized inscription.
Nancy R. Taylor, Falmouth Select Board Chair 2022 through 2025. Thank you for your service. This is amazing, and I absolutely will miss this, so watch out. This is great. Thank you all very much, and I certainly will miss the board. And Doug, you have taught me quite a lot, because we've been together for a long time now. And I've learned a lot from Heather and Bob, and certainly from Scott. And so I will miss the board. I'll be watching from home, and I wish you all the best. And I have all the faith in the world that you will continue to move this town in a really good direction. Thank you.
Nancy.
Madam Chair. If I could, I just wanted, on behalf of the office, I just wanted to, and myself as the town manager, still relatively new here after 2 years, I just want to thank you and Scott for your leadership, as already has been mentioned. It's important, being new to a community, to have somebody with insight, perspective, and having both of you grown up in the area. I've really leaned on that, your perspective and your insights, definitely the leadership. So I appreciate everything that you've brought to the town, and certainly the relationship and the leadership that you provided my office. So thank you so much for all you've done. Thanks.
Okay, let's get back to business. All right, announcements. Any announcements from the board for the public? I'll start with Ms. Goldstone.
I'll just
and then-
follow up on
Mr. Brown?
on Ms. Goldstone's recognition that I understand that the East Falmouth St. Anthony's Church is keeping their parish hall open this evening for any friends or family of the kids affected by this tragedy. So I don't know exactly what the time is, but I'm pretty sure it's now.
7 o'clock.
to-
It's going to open at 7.
Open at 7, okay, for a couple hours, and people just, you don't have to be religious or a member of the church, just, if you want to go there and just hang out and try to heal.
Thank you for that. Ms. Goldstone?
Following on our recognitions here, tomorrow is Election Day, so get out and vote tomorrow. On Thursday at 6:30 p.m., we have a community meeting update on the Trotting Park Fields and the process there. And then Monday, the Memorial Day parade and ceremony down on the library lawn.
Good.
Great, thank you. Any other announcements? Okay, we're going to move into public comment.
Sorry, there's a stakeholder meeting
Go ahead,
for
Mr.
the
Brown.
Surf Drive residents? We should announce that.
June 2nd, public meeting at the Herman Room at 6:30 p.m.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
That's the Herman Room of the main library.
Right.
Okay, we're going to move into public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment? Okay, public comment may be made on routine matters not on the agenda this evening. Comments are limited to 2 minutes. Please introduce yourself, and since the matter has not been included on this agenda, the Select Board may not participate in any discussion or debate of your topic. Mr. Taylor?
Good evening. My name's Todd Taylor. I'm a town meeting member, West Falmouth Village Association board member, and a lifelong resident of the town of Falmouth. I'm here tonight because I want to thank the select board members Nancy Robbins Taylor and Scott Zelinski for their dedicated years of service to the town of Falmouth. Their leadership, their commitment to our community have made a meaningful impact, and their departure marks the end of a significant chapter of our town's governance. I especially want to commend them for their unwavering support for public safety. They've consistently demonstrated their commitment to the well-being of our citizens by standing behind the Falmouth Fire and Rescue Department and the Falmouth Police Department. Their advocacy and support have helped ensure that these critical services remain strong, responsive, and well-resourced. On behalf of myself and the West Falmouth Village Association, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to both Nancy Robbins Taylor, and Scott Zelinski. Falmouth is a better place because of your service. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here for public comment?
That's a comment.
Okay. You may leave, Laura. We'll give them just another minute.
No.
And we will move into our committee interviews. Is William Duffy with us? Okay, would you step up to the podium, please? This is for the Conservation Commission. Mr. Duffy, is there anything that you would like the board to know about you that you did not include in your application?
Not really. My application is a pretty open book.
Okay.
Other than the fact that I enjoy the town, so I thought it was time to give something back.
Okay, questions or comments from the board?
Nothing other than your resume and your application. You will certainly be a benefit to the Conservation Commission. Thank you for stepping up.
Mr. Brown?
I'm curious, what was your motivation to choose Conservation Commission other than some other board?
I have an undergraduate degree in conservation biology, and so it's something that I thought about when I was going to graduate from undergrad, but I switched towards marine science instead and ended up joining NOAA Fisheries. And after spending now 20 years in the town and then finally buying property, I thought it was time to sort of give back. And I work for an organization where, you know, sometimes the job has a negative association, and you know, a lot of my friends are like, I can't believe you're doing this. Why would you join that committee? And I like to prove people wrong, and so far the couple of people I've met have been really good, so it furthered my desire to, you know, want to work with the town and the committee.
Ms. Goldstone?
I guess you may have just partially answered this, but I noticed in your application you said you'd not attended a Conservation Commission meeting. Have you reached out to committee members? Do you feel like you're familiar with the work that they're doing?
So Jennifer reached out to me, and then I sat down with her and Jamie for about an hour, and they went over the layout and what's expected and what we would be doing. And so it furthered my interest in finally knowing what was going on. So those are the only two members I've chatted with so far.
And there are two positions open, one with a 1-year term and one with a 2-year term. Did you have a preference?
I'll give it the 2 years.
Okay.
I have that time frame for a commitment.
Good answer. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Make a motion
Certainly.
to appoint William Duffy to fill a full member vacancy on the Conservation Commission with a term that expires June 30, 2027.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you very much.
We will also mention for those out there who are interested, there's still one member, full member vacancy that is outstanding on the Conservation Commission, as well as 2 alternate members. So if anyone's interested, please step up. Thank you.
I guess we missed an opportunity to ask Mr. Bowman if he wanted to consider the full position. Because we just appointed him as an alternate, didn't we?
No.
No.
Oh, he's on a full position?
Full.
Oh, okay, excuse me.
Yeah,
2
he's
years.
all set.
No problem. 2 years.
Good.
Okay, we're going to move into public hearings. Mr. Zelinski for the notice, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Falmouth Select Board will hold a public hearing under Section 240, 14.8, Wetlands Regulations of the zoning bylaws of the town of Falmouth on Monday, May 19th, 2025, at 6:45 PM in the Select Board Meeting Room, Falmouth Town Hall, 59 Town Hall Square, on the application of Taylor May Carroll, trustee of the TMC Family Trust, for permission to extend the existing pier by 25 feet to a total length of 76 feet, located at 115 Charles River Road, East Falmouth, Mass. Area affected is Charles River, Interested parties may review the file on this application at the office of the Select Board per order of the Falmouth Select Board.
Thank you. Attorney Clower, you are here to represent the applicant?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, Kevin Clower, an attorney here in town, and I'm representing Taylor May Carroll, the trustee of the TMC Family Trust, which is the owner of 115 Childs River Road. We are requesting a special permit under section 240-14.8B, which would allow for an alteration to an existing dock or pier. So this property is located on Childs River Road in East Falmouth, about the midpoint of the river between Wacoit Bay and Bosun's. The property is 8,600 square feet, approximately 80 feet of frontage along the waterway, and it's currently improved with an existing home and pier. It is not located within an area of critical environmental concern. So the applicants are requesting approval for a 25 by 5.5 foot extension to the pier that will result in increased water depth at the end of the pier to about 3.5 feet. At this point in the river, it is approximately 270 feet wide. The pier, as proposed, would be 76 feet in length, which is less than 1/3 of the waterway. It's also about 23 feet shorter than the furthest pier nearby goes into the river. This project has been reviewed and approved by the Conservation Commission already, and if approved by this board, will proceed to the state level of permitting. I believe that this meets all the requirements for a special permit under this provision. I was not aware of any negative comments coming in from the referrals. As of noted, has already been approved by Conservation Commission, and I would be happy to address any questions that the board may have at this time.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Mr. Muscali and then Ms. Goldstone.
Mr. Clower, are there any other docks of similar size in that particular area that
Yes.
you're aware of? Thank you.
So even on our site plan, we show a number of docks just to the south, and as I said, 3 docks to the south. It goes about 23 feet further into the river. There are also docks across the river from this. The nearest dock to this is 156 feet directly across the river at 86 Edgewater Drive east.
Thank you.
So it still have a navigable waterway of over 150 feet.
Ms. Goldstone?
A couple of questions. So you mentioned I was trying to find depths on here. So you mentioned it's to get to a depth of 3.5 feet, and what's the depth at the current end?
Right now, at mean low water, it's one, they show 2.8 here, 1.3 here. So by coming out another 25 feet, it increases at least a foot in depth. Conservation typically likes to see at least 3 feet of depth at the end of the dock. So this will put us at 3.5, 3.7 in that range right there.
I will say I recognize there's the one dock 3 down that is similar in length. I went and pulled up my navigational software, and those are really the only 2. The rest of them are significantly smaller. And I have some concern about a precedent where if this were extended by 25 feet and everybody else extended by 25 feet, we'd be down to maybe 100 feet of navigable middle of the river. So.
Understanding your concern, I think each of these have to be approached on a case-by-case basis, and I think here that the benefit of moving it into a deeper depth at the end of the dock is significant, because you're not going to have churn of the bottom layer when you have a boat in that 1.5, 2.5 feet of water. So there is a significant benefit to that by extending this one, and each of these has to be viewed on an independent basis. So just because this one might be 25 feet further, if another dock was trying to do 25 feet just for the sake of the 25 feet, I don't think that would hold as much weight.
And one last question, if I may. The application mentions the removal of gravel from the property. Is that the riprap along the edge?
No, that's actually over here. There was some gravel that was brought in that's being replaced. There was just along the house edge. That's being replaced with mulch.
Okay.
Per Concom.
Another question, Mr. Muscali?
Yeah, I had a question about the gravel, but what was there was okay? I mean, it wasn't a violation of anything? They just happened to be removing it to make this project work, or were they in some torpor?
I don't believe they were in violation, but I wasn't involved in the conservation portion of this. So they came to me once the order of conditions had already been issued, so I don't want to speak too much to that because I just don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Zelinski?
Attorney Clower, could it be a possibility of getting a little bit with more draft?
Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Nobody wants their boat hung up.
And I think there's some negative environmental consequences to that as well.
Understand? Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Other questions from the board?
I had my question about the width of the waterway answered, and I agree that getting the prop out of the sand is an environmental benefit. So.
Okay, any comment from the public on this application? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second just to close the hearing. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion amongst the board.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the application of Taylor May Carroll for the permission to extend an existing pier by 25 feet to a total length of 76 feet at 115 Childs River Road, East Falmouth, in the waters of Childs River as presented.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to move into our second hearing. Mr. Zelinski for the notice, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Can't see.
Falmouth Select Board will hold a public hearing under Sections 240-14.8 Wetlands Regulations of the zoning bylaws of the town of Falmouth on Monday, May 22nd, on 2020, May 22nd, 2023 at 6, this is the wrong time and date on it.
Well, that's an old one, right, from the first
Yeah.
time when we heard it?
Oh, I see that. It says May 29th.
I just want to make sure the content's the same.
The public hearing that I have says Monday, May 19th, 2025.
Huh? Sorry, folks. Madam Chair, may I?
Yes, please.
Falmouth
the
Select
notice.
Board will hold a public hearing under Section 240-14.8 Wetlands Regulations of the zoning bylaws of the town of Falmouth on Monday, May 19th, 2025, at 6:45 in the Select Board Meeting Room, Falmouth Town Hall, 59 Town Hall Square, on the application of Acme Falmouth, Mass. LLC for permission to modify approved layout of fixed and floating piers within the previously legally altered area at 278 Scranton Ave, Falmouth, Mass., Falmouth Marine and Yachting Center, in parentheses. Area affected is Falmouth Inner Harbor. Interested parties may review the file on this application at the office of the Select Board, per order of the Falmouth Select Board. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Make sure that the next one is right. Okay, do we have a representative for the applicant?
No.
Sir, while we're waiting, could you introduce yourself, please?
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the applicant. Also with us tonight is Bob Ammett, representing the applicant as the attorney for the project. Doesn't look like we're getting the reading for... Madam Chair, would you like to open both hearings since it is the same project, or one at a time?
We're going to do them separately.
Separately, fine. Yes. So, fortunately, I can't share the images that I brought in my flash drive, but this project 2 years ago received approval by this board, the Select Board, for the reconfiguration of the marina. The improvements included both a bulkhead reconstruction, the pier layout reconstruction and realignment, and some improvements in drainage. The project went through the Conservation Commission, it went through the state Chapter 91 waterways licensing, and it got all those approvals 2 years ago. The property was sold last year, and the new property owner wants to do a little different layout for the proposed marina, the floating piers. The bulkhead doesn't change from what was approved by this by this board and other agencies last year or 2 years ago. What they are proposing to do is change the layout of the piers. This project got approved, the reconfiguration got approved by Conservation a few months ago. It will need waterways to recognize the reconfiguration of these floating piers. Both Conservation and the state waterways approve a reconfiguration zone in front of this property for the piers to change in shape or alignment so long as it stays within a certain size of that approved pier. So this project meets those requirements by the state, and it was approved by Conservation Commission. It is still less square footage in terms of footprint from the existing piers today. It is still less number of pilings in the waters of Falmouth Inner Harbor, and it is still more than 30 feet away from the federal channel, which is a requirement for the Army Corps of Engineers. Those permits will also be required after all the local permits are obtained. The improvements on land are still the same that were approved a couple of years ago, but the floating piers are going to be changing in terms of layout. If there's any questions, I'll try to answer.
Questions from the board? Mr. Brown?
What was the feedback from the harbor master? Was there any concern or questions raised?
No navigation hazards or concerns from the review of harbor master or shellfish constable.
Can I
Ms.
just
Goldstone?
check my understanding of the plans as I saw them? The reconfiguration is to break one large slip into 3 or 4 smaller slips at a 90-degree angle. Is that correct?
So we're going to go old-fashioned here.
Right. Perfect.
For everyone to see. So, as you mentioned, most of the changes are happening in this section. This floating pier was last approved as a fixed pier. It is now going to be a floating pier. This change in terms of exact location of them, they kind of moved a little bit, but essentially they stay the same. This is the main change. This is the travel lift, and it stays exactly the same as it was proposed.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Muscali?
So as I understand, you said that the modification will be less square footage than was originally there. How does that match up to what was approved by this board in 2023?
So, right, what the state and I guess is waterways requires that any changes is not more than 10% of what was approved in terms of square footage. So we are at below the 10% from that. What exists today is roughly some 6,000 plus square feet of piers. We're proposing 5,698 of floats. There's also fixed piers at 3,000, and we're going to about 1,000.
Okay, but my question was relative to what was approved by the board in 2023. Is it a reduction or an increase in what was approved in 2020?
So it is an increase from what was approved 2 years ago, reduction
But
from what
less
exists
than-
today.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any public comment on this application? Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion amongst the board.
I would move approval. It's an improvement to the harbor. Is there a written motion
There.
here?
Yeah.
There is a written motion.
I can make the motion that we vote to approve the application by Acme Falmouth MA LLC to modify an approved layout of fixed and floating piers within a previously legally altered area at 278 Scranton Avenue, Falmouth Marine and Yachting Center in the waters of Falmouth Inner Harbor as presented.
I'll second. We can both second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Wetlands dredging, hearing number 3, Mr. Zelinski for the notice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Falmouth Select Board will hold a public hearing under Sections 240-14.8, Wetlands Regulation of the zoning bylaws of the Town of Falmouth on Monday, May 19th, at 6:45 in the Select Board Meeting Room, Falmouth Town Hall, 59 Town Hall Square, on the application of Acme ACME, Falmouth, Mass. LLC for permission to perform maintenance and improvement dredging within Falmouth Inner Harbor adjacent to 278 Scranton Ave, Falmouth, Mass. 850 plus or minus 850 cubic yards of material to be removed with off-site upland disposal. Area affected, Falmouth Inner Harbor. Interested parties may review the file on this application at the office of the Select Board per order of the Falmouth Select Board.
Thank you.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering. Also with us, Bob Ammon, representing the applicant for this project. Same address that we just recently closed. What the new applicant wants to do is also to improve the water depth in front of the entire property for better access for their boats and the services that they provide. This was not part of the approvals that the prior owner received 2 years ago, so this is a new task for the overall improvements of this marina. So this plan was submitted with the application, and it was a color-coded plan, so I hope the board members have the one that is color-coded. What this was intending to do was to show how what we're proposing to do fits in within what was previously approved for dredging in the past. We all know that the Falmouth Inner Harbor has been dredged for many, many years, and there are several licenses and permits through the state that permitted dredging in this location to the far north, dredging in the middle upper section, another dredging permit in the middle section, and 2 other permits on the southern section. And then the crosshatch that we show here is what the current applicant wants to achieve for dredging. The target here is to get to water depths of 7 feet. Some of these permits in the past are for depths of up to 8.7 feet below mean low water. So we're not going that far down. But this one permit on the far south was permitted to about 6 foot of water depth. We're going a little deeper from that older permit. We believe the entire harbor was dredged even further or deeper, but we haven't found those permits for that southern section. So for the new project that the owner wants to do with the reconfiguration of the floats, they want to target a depth of 7 feet. And that's what we're here for, is to get permission to dredge the water frontage on that property to at least 7 feet below mean low water. This project was presented to Conservation Commission and a new order of condition was issued. This permit, unlike the prior permit, needs a full license and water quality through the state. It also needs Army Corps of Engineers and it needs certain other agencies to review and approve the project. But first we're going through the local permits. We already have conservation. We're looking for this select board approval to follow on with the state approvals. The dredge is not uncommon at this depth for some of these commercial marinas. 7 foot depth provides enough clearings for some of the big boats that are serviced and accessing this site. On the north side, currently this wharf is what's using the ferry. It holds the slip for the ferry. We're proposing to move it to the north side on the new floating pier. So we do want those water depths for the entire area. If there's any question, I'll try to answer.
Mr. Zelinski, we'll start with you.
So obviously, the angle of repose for the cut right up by the bulkhead is drastically more shallow than the rest of the dredge proposed, right?
That is correct. So in this plan, you will see a green dash line, and then you will see like a pinkish magenta dash line.
So that's to maintain the integrity of the bulkhead, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
From the pink, we go at a 3-to-1 slope towards the bulkhead because we don't want to dredge the the same 7 feet all the way up to the
Understood.
bulkhead. We're also keeping 25 feet from the salt marsh at this location to keep clear from that area.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Other questions from the board? Okay, seeing none. Any comments from the public regarding this application? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion amongst the board.
Seems like a standard.
I'm happy to follow Concom's lead here and ensure that this reconfiguration of the docks ends up being as useful and as profitable as it can be.
Is that a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the application by Acme Falmouth LLC to perform maintenance and improvement dredging within Falmouth Inner Harbor adjacent to 278 Scranton Ave, 850 plus or minus cubic yards of material to be removed with off-site upland disposal in the waters of Falmouth Inner Harbor as presented.
Madam Chair, I'll second Ms. Goldstone's motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, we're going to move on to our next hearing. Mr. Zelinski for the notice, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Notice is hereby given under Chapter 140, Section
Keep that door
183
open, please.
Alpha of the general laws as amended by Charter. Let me wait till that door's open.
Yeah, let's keep that door open, please.
We'll start over on
Open
this.
meeting.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Notice is hereby given under Chapter 140, Section 183 Alpha of the general laws as amended by Chapter 299 of the Acts of 1926 and amendments thereto, that Falmouth Theater Guild located at 58 Highfield Drive, Falmouth, Mass. Has applied for an entertainment license and a Sunday entertainment license. A hearing on the above application will be held in the Select Board Meeting Room, Falmouth Town Hall on Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 6:45 p.m. Comments may be sent to selectboard@falmouthma.gov per order of the Select Board Licensing Board. Nancy Robbins Taylor, Edwin P. Zielinski, Douglas C. Brown, Robert P. Muscali, Heather M.H. Goldstone.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you introduce yourself, and you are the applicant?
Yes, my name's Todd Sadler. I'm a member at large with the Falmouth Theater Guild.
Okay, would you like to speak to the board about your application? Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I just request approval.
Okay, so the board?
We want to entertain people.
That's the right answer. Okay, Ms. Goldstone.
Am I understanding correctly that this is the first time that the Theater Guild has applied for an entertainment license?
Yes, we were informed of the requirement in January of this year.
Okay, excellent.
Any other questions from the board or comments?
Took 50 years to figure out you needed a license.
It's a long time. Any,
Did it the way we used to.
any comments from the public regarding this application? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion amongst the board?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the application for an annual entertainment license and Sunday entertainment license by Falmouth Theater Guild at Highfield Theater, 58 Highfield Drive, Falmouth.
Madam Chair, I'll second Ms. Goldstone's motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to move on. Mr. Zelinski for the notice for the next hearing.
Thank you,
Blue
Madam
Moon
Chair.
Sea Grill.
Notice is hereby given under Chapter 138 of the general laws as amended that Blue Moon Sea Grill, doing business as Hooked, has applied for an all-alcoholic beverage restaurant license to be exercised at 153 Main Street, Falmouth, Mass. A hearing on the above application will be held in the Select Board Meeting Room, Falmouth Town Hall, on Monday, May 19th, 2025, at 6:45 p.m. Comments may be sent to selectboard@falmouthma.gov per order of the Select Board Licensing Board. Nancy Robbins Taylor, Edwin P. Zielinski II, Douglas C. Brown, Robert P. Muscali, Heather M.H. Goldstone.
Thank you, Mr. Zelinski.
ma'am.
Oh, Attorney Clower, it's you again.
You can see a lot of me tonight, unfortunately. Would like it approved. That seemed to work for them.
Wow.
Be so
Okay,
lucky.
yeah. Yeah, lawyers we're not as easy with.
For the record, Kevin Clower. I am before you representing Blue Moon Sea Grill, Inc., doing business as Hooked Bar and Grill. I'm joined tonight by the owner, Edmund Ricciardi, as well as Ed's son, John, who will also have an active role in the operation. The Ricciardis have owned and operated a number of restaurants in the area, including the Raw Bar on the harbor and the Wharf Restaurant in the casino building. We are proposing a new restaurant, and I realize these are separate hearings, but my presentation is kind of the same for both the entertainment and the liquor, so
Yep.
I'm going to kind of roll those together. So there is a new restaurant proposed just a stone's throw from here at the corner of Main Street and Town Hall Square in the former location of the Vincent Real Estate office. We've been engaged in the permitting process for some time, and they're completing the build-out of the property now. Hope to open this summer. Before this board tonight, seeking a common victualler license, a liquor license, and an entertainment license. As I mentioned, these are going one at a time, and the first hearing before you was the liquor license, but a lot of this information is going to be the same. So the applicant's proposing a sit-down restaurant, 117 seats, 67 indoor seats, and 50 outdoor seats on the patio. They've obtained site plan review approval from the planning board. The anticipated hours are 9 a.m. because they'll be open for lunch and brunch on the weekends potentially, until 1 a.m. Generally, most licenses do go to 1 a.m. Most places don't stay open quite that late. They anticipate being done earlier most nights, but that provides them with some flexibility. The menu specializes in seafood with an extensive raw bar selection, and they are seeking an all-alcohol liquor license to include liquor sales with meal service. The manager is Ed Ricciardi, who has extensive experience in this field, well over 25 years. He is tip certified, and the staff will be tip certified as well. They're seeking to provide customers with options so that they can enjoy beer, wine, or a cocktail with their food. It's meant as an amenity to the customers. They are also requesting an entertainment license. That would be both indoor and outdoor entertainment, though not at the same time, of course. Entertainment has been proposed Wednesday through Sunday. The indoor entertainment would be between 4 and 10, and the outdoor entertainment will be limited between 4 and 7:30. It was described to me as hum and strum entertainment, one at most 2 performers, and will of course comply with all requirements for noise and entertainment licenses in town.
I was going to just say the same
I believe that this restaurant will be a welcome addition to our very vibrant Main Street. I believe I've provided the board with the information that you need to find favorably on this, but I, along with Mr. Ricciardi or Mr. Ricciardi's son, John, will be happy to address any questions that you might have at this time.
Great, thank you. And we're going to stick right now to the all alcoholic beverages restaurant license, entertainment, Sunday entertainment, common vic license. Actually, we're just sticking to the alcoholic beverages. Questions from the board? Mr. Muscali.
Yeah, Attorney Clower, I just want to clear up something. On the application where the question is disclosure of licensee disciplinary action, there was action taken 8/15/14, 11 years ago. Further on, and I'm assuming that it's just a typo or something, I just want to make sure it's a typo. Prior disciplinary action, 8/15/24.
That's a typographical error.
Okay, I just want to make sure it wasn't
Yep.
so recent. When I looked at his jobs, I figured it was the Raw Bar, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, there was one incident 11 years ago, which has been dealt with through the ABCC, and despite the many years of service in Mashpee and Falmouth, there's been no other incidents.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from board members?
Is there still an
Mr. Brown?
outstanding background check that needs to be done?
The background check's being done on the 21st of this
Okay.
month. That was the soonest the police department could accommodate it. Mr. Ricciardi has had his query run a number of times for various permits throughout town.
So our approval would be pending that?
Of course.
Any other questions from the board? Any comments from the public on this application? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion amongst the board?
Slightly odd order to take the licenses to be doing the alcohol first, but I think the whole proposition sounds like a great addition to Main Street.
I don't see any harm in having another restaurant with another liquor license, so I have no comment otherwise.
Maybe you could clarify the issue of the patio outside. Is that going to be, is that moving along and completed? You know, when
Already
you're
closed.
opening?
But we've closed the hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So maybe you could ask that
I'll ask
question
that
in
at
the
the next
second
one.
We'll have a
hearing?
couple more chances.
Yeah, I guess I'll have a couple of chances.
Yeah, he's gonna, you
Be
can fire
prepared
away
for
at
that
him in a
question
minute.
now.
Okay, so right now, we are voting on the alcoholic beverages restaurant license.
I'll make a
Matt,
motion.
Okay, would you like to read the motion, Mr. Muscali? Do you have it?
If you have it. That the Select Board approve the application by Blue Moon Sea Grill, Inc., DBA Hook, for an all-alcoholic beverage restaurant license to be executed at 153 Main Street, Falmouth, as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, we're going to go right into the next hearing regarding the Blue Moon Sea Grill. Mr. Zelinski for the notice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Notice is hereby given under Chapter 140, Section 183 Alpha of the General Laws as amended by Chapter 299 of the Acts of 1926 and amendments thereto, that Blue Moon Sea Grill, Inc., doing business as Hooked, located at 153 Main Street, Falmouth, Mass., has applied for an entertainment license and a Sunday entertainment license. A hearing on the above application will be held at the Select Board Meeting Room, Falmouth Town Hall, on Monday, May 19th at 2025 at 6:45 p.m. Comments may be sent to selectboard@falmouthma.gov per order of the Select Board. Nancy Robbins Taylor, Edwin P. Zelinski II, Douglas C. Brown, Robert P. Muscali, Heather M.H. Goldstone.
Thank you, Mr. Zelinski, and we've heard Attorney Clower's presentation. Questions from the board? Mr. Muscali.
Just asked a question about the patio. Is that going
That's
to be?
been approved through the planning board, and that construction's underway, and will be, all this construction will need to be wrapped up, both the interior and exterior, prior to the issuance of a certificate of inspection by the building department.
And could you just go over the hours of entertainment, so I'm clear? Because on our notes, it says Wednesday through Saturday, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., and Sunday, 11 to 4 p.m. Is that, those are the hours?
And then the outdoor entertainment will be limited between 4 and 7:30.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Ms. Goldstone and then Mr. Brown.
Mr. Clower, have you had any feedback from abutters
We have not.
regarding this?
Public comment after.
You're going to have to wait. As soon as we'll take public comment in just a minute.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead,
have
you
not
can
received
ask the
any,
question.
we sent out the notices, the affidavit was submitted to the town appropriately. We have not received any feedback at all.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown?
I have a question about the outdoor entertainment location. Being that it's on that corner of the patio closest to the road, seems like it might be impactful to other properties.
So, I mean, the only abutting property really there is the parking area for the town. There are, of course, businesses across the street. The entertainment will be faced in towards patrons. There's no, they're not looking to entertain the street, they're looking to entertain patrons that are there. This is, really limited in scope. They're not looking to have a band outside, they're looking to have one, as I said, maybe two musicians outside playing towards their customers.
And it's only in the afternoon,
Yes,
till 7:30 p.m.
that's the latest it could possibly go
Okay.
for the outdoor.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Just the last comment that, the entertainment regulation calls for keeping the sound on the property. Very difficult when you're that close to the line. You're like almost at the property line, so.
There's not, if there's going to be any outdoor entertainment, there's not many options, and of course, they have to adhere to those regulations. This is a busy downtown Main Street that has a lot of ambient noise as it is. They're just looking to provide another nice feature to what is a really stellar downtown.
Any other comments? Okay, I will take comments from the public on this application, please.
Charlotte's Web. So, good evening. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Renshaw, Mr. Johnson-Staub. My name is Linda Samordos, 137 Main Street, approximately 15 feet behind timber. I'm speaking for the condo association as abutters. I mentioned timber because some of you on the board may recall the music mess that we dealt with, and you dealt with, I dealt with, and hopefully rectified so far, mostly. But it's left a sour taste, of course. But hopefully, I don't want that to reflect on Hooked. So moving on to Blue Moon DBA Hooked. Welcome to our end of Main Street. A different world there. And thank you for beautifying that location. I've watched the progress from Port Cargo, where I've worked for 25 years or more, and from my condo. A lot of trucks, a lot of hammering, a lot of kavosa, but only really one incident, one phone call I had to make during this whole process, which is pretty good considering any vehicle comes down where La Chavetta is and by the side of the condo. So that's a residence. So hopefully, all the conditions that were laid down during the approval process will be observed when finally opened. So on to the entertainment license. Mr. Clower answered some of the questions I have here, acoustic or amplified. It sounds like it's acoustic and thankfully not amplified. No subwoofer to increase the bass, not that kind of place like Timber does or did. My guest definitely is not a DJ. I couldn't quite hear what Mr. Clower said as to the kind of music that would be there, whether it would be piped in or not. I couldn't hear him. And another question I had was whether the music would be outside as well as inside the restaurant. That sound travels, as you know. And the hours of entertainment, he answered Wednesday through Saturday, 4 to 10, and Sunday, 11 to 4, brunchy. Seems reasonable, if it is reasonable. Again, all about respect for each other and remembering that you have neighbors. If I may comment on the victuals license, again, Mr. Clower mentioned till 1 a.m. I think very few places actually in town stay open till 1. I think back in the day when I was on the party train, I don't even think I made, well, I did make it to 1, but I don't know about now. So again, I say neighbors, you know, cleaning up after, if it does go late, and how the trash will be emptied. So again, respect neighbors and living right behind Hooked, you know, day and night, and, you know, more importantly, night. So wrap it up. I want to thank the board for all that you do and for hearing me out on this matter, as you have similar matters in the past. And to Hooked, you know, to John and Eddie and staff and any other partners you may have, I want to say welcome to the block. You know, no more sour grapes. What's done is done. And I hope to dine there and hope you make a good martini. So that's all I have to say. Headed out while I can still stand. Thank you and good luck to y'all.
Thank you.
You know, embrace the change. I'm trying to do that.
Thank you. Any other comment on this application? And Mr. Clower, the one question I didn't, that was asked, amplified or not amplified?
So I think we always struggle with this. Anytime someone's playing an acoustic guitar, and that's what we're talking about, there's still typically a small amp that is used, because if I were to sit here with an acoustic guitar without an amp, you probably couldn't hear me from where you're sitting. So when we talk about amplification, they're not, as Mr. Morta said, you know, we're not talking about subwoofers, we're talking about very low level amplification. And that would certainly be much more so for the interior than the exterior. But if someone's sitting there playing, and again, I don't think you'd be able to hear a truly unamplified guitar that from even there, let alone without background noise. So we would be looking at low-level amplification.
Mr. Muscali?
A question that was raised about whether it would be piped-in music or live music, or you haven't decided
So there
yet?
would, there would be certainly live music is what they're looking for. That's what the entertainment license is really geared towards. For the interior, though, there would certainly be some recorded music playing when there's not live entertainment. Low-level background noise like you'd hear at most restaurants.
Thank you.
And there is a commitment to work with the neighbors.
Of course
and-
there is.
Thank you.
You're standing right behind you, you know.
She's got a cane.
And she has
So we've been working with Linda and the
Just
other
so I
neighbors
didn't
of
see
the
you look
condo.
behind
for-
you, but
Yeah,
that's
we've been
that.
working with them for quite some time.
Harmless
Thank you.
noise.
Thank you. Any other comment from the public? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion amongst the board?
I would say, given the commitment, what we've heard for the hours and the type of music that they plan to do, probably would be okay.
I think for the outdoor entertainment, even if it's acoustic, there is no physical way to ensure that it does not leave the property boundaries. And so, in fairness to Hooked, we would need to include an exemption from that clause of the noise regulations. There's simply no way to stand there and not have the sound travel 5 feet.
But at the same time, if people are dining across the street at the, say, Pickle Jar or the Mexican place or whatever, they might be impacted negatively. And
That's why I asked the question of whether or not there had been any feedback from abutters.
Right, but what I'm thinking is maybe then we see how it goes, and if we get problems, then we bring them back and talk about it, but
We'd be happy to come back
I
before the
respect your
board.
position that it's going to be very difficult to maintain.
I think overall, it's difficult for all entertainment venues to meet, or for many of them to meet. But I think the better way to handle it is to go forward, and hopefully there aren't any complaints, and if there are, then we'll have to deal with it at that time. That would be my preference.
I would
And
agree
you're
with
saying
you.
go forward with an exemption or without?
Without at this point. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
because
think,
if
I
we-
don't
agree.
think we should just assume, I mean, you're very practical, and, I think everyone understands, your point, but I think, people could bring up exemptions at a few other places that we haven't dealt with. So I'd prefer to go forward as is, and let's see what the response might be, and, maybe, take a look at that regulation going forward as well, once we hear, because now it's been in for a while, people are dealing with it, they'll certainly be dealing with it this summer, and maybe we'll have a better track record to work off of. So I would move it to be approved as is, would be my preference.
Is that a motion, Mr. Muscali?
Yes, that would be a motion to approve
I would second that.
annual entertainment and Sunday entertainment license at 153 Main Street, Falmouth, Wednesday through Saturday, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., and Sundays 11 a.m. to 4 p.m.
As presented.
as presented.
I would second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Not unanimous.
Half an hour.
Not unanimous.
I'm sorry? You said no, thank you. Okay, so it's 4-1, thank you. Okay, we're going to move into business.
Did we do the common victual license?
Yes, we did both of them.
That was together with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Carmen Vic was up here. Okay, Business A, Mr. Renshaw.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Select Board tonight is going to consider a request to approve the grant of a conservation restriction from Falmouth Farming Incorporated to the 300 Committee Land Trust Incorporated and Town of Falmouth Agricultural Commission on the property which is located at 578 Locust Field Road. Madam Chair and Select Board members, the property subject to this conservation restriction is a 6-acre parcel of land and buildings, and it's shown as Lot 1 in the exhibit as part of your packet tonight. Both the Falmouth Agricultural Commission, and I believe the chair is here, he is, hi, and the 300 Committee voted to approve this conservation restriction. The email thread is attached to the packet. Town Council has also reviewed the conservation restriction documentation and has approved them as to form. Kat Garofoli, did I mispronounce that?
Garofoli.
I knew I was going to do that. Garofoli, Kat. Hi, Kat. A land protection specialist with the Compact of Cape Cod Conservation Trusts Incorporated, has worked extensively with both the Ag Commission and the 300 Committee on this restriction application, and is going to be present tonight to answer any questions that I might not be able to answer. So, Madam Chair?
Thank you. So the board has the packet, has the application. Questions from the board? Ms. Goldstone.
Technical question. I'm super excited to see this and to have it move forward. I'm not as familiar with agricultural purpose conservation. So is it two separate restrictions for different parts of the property? Is it all one? Because there's the one part at the back that's a slightly different use than most of the farming area.
That's a terrific question. So thank you again for having me tonight. The way in which this conservation restriction was written, it's broken up into sections. There is an agricultural activity area. There is a unrestricted property area that incorporates the house that the Farming Falmouth is going to be using as an affordable housing option. And then there is a special use area where no agriculture will happen and that it's strictly going to be protected for conservation.
Okay. But those are all within one, or those two are within one easement?
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you.
Other questions from members of the board?
We still have the victualler, but it's further down.
Mr. Muscali?
Question. Has title actually been conveyed to Farming Falmouth?
No, title has not been conveyed as of yet. The goal is it has to be closed on by June 30th because it's pending a conservation partnership grant from the state. And the conservation restriction, because it takes so long to get local approvals and then state final approval, we have to go through the process of getting local approvals first before title is transferred.
So, I mean, the issue I have with the actual restriction is that it provides, and if we go forward with it this date, it provides that Farming Falmouth is going to has the ability to give the restriction.
So
which it doesn't at this point, is my question.
Sure, let me clarify. So what will be recorded at the Registry of Deeds first will be the title of this property. The conservation restriction does not take place until that title is conveyed. And so this conservation restriction, we're just trying to secure the signatures from the select board in the event that we're going to be recording this after that deed is recorded. So this does not go into effect until Farming Falmouth.
I understand, but I'm hesitant to sign this at this time with the statement that Farming Falmouth is in a position to grant this easement or this restriction, which it's not at this moment. I understand it'll be recorded subsequently. I just think that there's a bit of a logistical problem in us signing it now, since you don't actually, or Farming Falmouth doesn't actually own the property at this time.
I can understand your concern. This is historically how conservation restrictions have been approved, especially when there is a transfer of land that requires a conservation restriction through whether it's community preservation, the land grant, or a conservation partnership grant. This is the general practice that we have when we're moving forward with a conservation restriction. And again, this will not go into place until Farming Falmouth owns the property.
I think we're just approving it as to form, right?
Correct.
No, I mean, I think we're approving, a restriction that, in my opinion, is not completely accurate. I mean, if we were signing it, I'd prefer it be held in escrow or something along those lines, pending, a closing of the property, and then restrict, be able to record it at that time. That's my only concern.
I totally understand that. I think that right now, with the fact that we have to get final approval from the state, we can't do that without the select board's signature page. Once that select board signature page is provided, then I will get the secretary of the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs to sign off, and it will just lay in waiting until the title is transferred.
Mr. Zelinski.
Couldn't it be stipulated in the approval, that language right there, just?
I mean, that would be acceptable as well.
Yeah, I mean.
If we include that.
There's certain things she can't get done without this, and we want to be satisfied that it's going to be done right. So if it's stipulated in the motion and in the minutes, I think that would be enough.
Peter, Michael, the winner?
Yeah, so I'm not an attorney, as you all know, so that's why I asked ours, the town council, to review the application in its entirety, and town council did come back and say, I said earlier, town council reviewed it and approved it as to form. She reviewed the entire application, and I asked town council if there were any issues or concerns, and she expressed none. So I think to Vice Chair Zelinski's point, it could be added. Kat, is that going to cause an issue for you? I'm not an
It could
expert in this.
potentially, especially like if we hold this signature page until Farming Falmouth holds title, there could be a waiting game with the state and the secretary's signature, and then we might not be able to record in time, and then Farming Falmouth will not be able to be reimbursed for the conservation partnership grant they've been awarded.
Ms. Goldstone?
I'm way out over my skis because also not a lawyer, as Mr. Muscali is. But I feel like if what we are approving is inform a conservation restriction from Falmouth Farming for a property that they don't yet hold, if that doesn't go through, they can't convey a conservation restriction because they don't hold it, and it becomes null and void.
That's correct.
I would agree with you.
Madam Chair, I would move that we approve the grant of a conservation restriction from Farming Falmouth, Inc. to the 300 Committee Land Trust, Inc. and the Town of Falmouth Agricultural Commission on the property located at 578 Locust Field Road as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Okay, Mr. Johnson-Staub, update Surf Drive Nourishment Study.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So tonight, the board is going to receive an update on a feasibility study that looks at beach and dune nourishment to protect Surf Drive. And that feasibility study is made possible thanks to a grant from the Coastal Zone Management Office of the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. I want to acknowledge the leadership of the Beach Committee in prodding the town and helping to get us organized to get that grant. And with us tonight, in addition to Connor Offson from the Woods Hole Group, who will be giving the presentation, is Rebecca Haney from Coastal Zone Management. So I just want to very briefly note that this is a feasibility study that is evaluating our options. We do have a tight timeline and a deadline to complete this feasibility study, but we are not on any sort of timeline to make a decision about a project and move forward with a specific project. This is purely an informational feasibility study, so the town has better information to consider what actions we might want to take with respect to protecting Surf Drive.
Great, thank you. And we have slated you for 25 minutes.
Yes, thanks. Hi, everybody. Peter, do you have the presentation?
It should be loaded.
Okay. Oh, I see that right here. There we go. All right, hi everybody. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Connor Offston. I'm a coastal scientist with Woods Hole Group. Again, working for the town of Falmouth under a grant from Coastal Zone Management Office, working with Leslie Fields here as well, on a surf drive, beach and dune nourishment feasibility study. I'm going to keep it to about 15 slides. There's a whole lot of work that's going into this, a lot of technical details we could go into and talk about any number of things. So I'm just going to hit the crux of what the project is about and some of the barriers we're hitting, some of the options we might have in front of us, and I'll take questions after that. So how we got here is through a series of past studies. The town of Falmouth has led a climate change vulnerability assessment back in 2019 to 2020, and that identified the different vulnerabilities, especially along the coastline that Falmouth has, Surf Drive coming to the top of that list. Second, there was a specific study of Surf Drive and resilience options within, looking at natural infrastructure, built infrastructure, how we might adapt this using hard solutions, armoring or raising things, how we might adapt this using nature and nature-based solutions, living shorelines, and when we might need to think about pulling back assets that are too vulnerable to maintain. All of this was kind of accelerated by storms in January 13th, 2024. This is a video, but since we're in PDF, it's not going to play. But I think, many of you are aware. I know Peter McConerty, who's been very helpful with us along the project. Thanks for being here. Is very aware of what happened on that date. We had overwash of Surf Drive. We had undermining of the roadway. There was a lot of clearing of debris and sediment that was needed. There was a lack of accessibility during that time. And just the threat of the ocean just adjacent Surf Drive was made very apparent to the town. On the scale of things, that storm was not so large. The water level amounted to about a 5-year storm. So, this was 2024. We could expect a water level similar to that by 2028, 2029. And as I think has been discussed in other meetings and throughout those reports that got us here, sea level rise is occurring and only going in one direction. So the frequency of events like this is expected to increase. So if this was a approximately 5-year storm, there were large waves, but those waves didn't exactly align with the peak of the high tide. The storm could have been much worse than it actually ended up being. Yet it's still on a small scale compared to what has been experienced along Surf Drive in the past. Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Bob, Hurricane Carol, 1938 hurricane. These sorts of storms are within the realm of possibility. They've happened before, they can happen again, and Surf Drive is sitting on the edge of Nantucket Sound and vulnerable to those. So again, the goal of this project was to look at the feasibility of beach and dune nourishment. Now, why beach and dune nourishment? That was the primary selected, the preferred pathway out of the Coastal Resilience Report from 2021, I believe, 2020 or 2021. Those are nature-based solutions, beach and dune nourishment. They are soft solutions. They tend to both help the habitat, help the public, and help the resiliency of our infrastructure, all at the same time, looking to meet those 3 goals. But they are also more near-term solutions. They are made of unconsolidated sediment. They can be washed around, and they can be lost to larger storms. So they're not permanent solutions. There is a long-term plan within the Coastal Resiliency Report for Surf Drive, which I'll get to towards the end of this presentation. All right, as we've gone through this feasibility assessment, we're looking at all the different kind of constraints and opportunities that we might see from the regulatory environment, from the existing environment. We've done habitat surveys, we've done topographic surveys, surveys of the structures, asset value work that Peter is helping us with right now. One of those surveys was an eelgrass survey. We went out, thanks to the harbor master who lent us their boat, on November 18th, and we used a camera submerged beneath the water line to survey where that eelgrass, especially the landward edge of that eelgrass, occurs. So this light green polygon here is showing where we exactly saw eelgrass. Now, we couldn't get everywhere. Our camera was only so deep. We couldn't get to the most shallow water. We couldn't get to the most deep water. So that is the extent that we saw. We also went out on foot. One brave Woods Hole Group employee was out there in November with water up to their belly button looking for eelgrass in the near shore, and it was there. So really the takeaway is that eelgrass is present in large amounts, fairly high density, and fairly close to the shore. So that's both a good thing and a bad thing for the town of Falmouth. It's within 40 to 100 feet of the shore, and eelgrass does a great job of helping to stabilize sediments, and it helps to dissipate wave energy. So there's a large, healthy bed of eelgrass off of Surf Drive, which is helping to build its resilience and let it respond to storms robustly. On the other hand, that eelgrass is susceptible to impact. If you were to nourish a beach like they do in Miami with hundreds of thousands of cubic yards of sand, it would smother that eelgrass and it would, not be there any longer. It'd have to grow back naturally, and it may not do so. So the regulatory environment for smothering eelgrass is not very favorable. There's a buffer that is needed on the scale of maybe 50 to 100 feet. And if you move 50 to 100 feet landward of this eelgrass bed, you are on the dry beach, or you're even in the center line of the right-of-way of Surf Drive. So we're really restrained as to how far seaward a project of beach and dune nourishment can go. Now, if we're looking in the areas where we then could feasibly build a project, we're looking here at a transect on the bottom of the screen along, let's say, I think west of the Salt Pond Inlet, between about Moores Beach area, where right now we have the lowest elevations of the beach, and there's a lack of dune present there. So during our survey, which occurred in the fall as well, we identified essentially just a relatively flat beach surface that rolls right into the intertidal zone and then out to the near shore. There's essentially no functioning dune here. There is a little bit of a ridge and a runnel, a ridge or a hill. So from a regulatory perspective, we are in a coastal dune. The roadway itself is in a coastal dune. That all starts to kind of constrain what we can do. But from looking at ways we can build a project, we have very little horizontal space to work with. What is this here? About 75 feet between the roadway and the high tide line. So if we're going to build a beach and we're going to build a resilient beach, we want as much volume as we can possibly get. But we can't necessarily just put a wall of sand because that would get scarped away by the waves. It would start to wash away. It could be a safety hazard. It would be a hazard to birds as well. And it just, frankly, wouldn't function like a dune, and so it wouldn't work. So as we try to design what a dune might look like in this area, we need to think about other species which are out here and using the beaches. We have the least tern up in the upper left. We have the piping plover in the bottom left. In the upper right is sea beach knotweed. And in the bottom right is a salt pond pennywort. That's it. These are all 4 identified protected species in the project area. So these have been seen. They've been registered with Natural Heritage. And as we proposed this project, we submitted an information request to them. This is what came back to us as constraints to work within. So regarding the birds in particular, they prefer gently sloped beaches to gently sloped dunes. If you had maybe 200, 300 feet of beach and dune area, there would be plenty of space for these birds to function, to do their thing, to forage and to nest as well. But we are on a very tight space. The dunes are being scarped. The habitat is really not prime for these birds. Though they are still resilient, they are still coming up year after year. Mass Audubon is doing surveys of that. So as we design a dune, we need to design slopes which are in favor of these bird species. Natural Heritage prefers a 10-to-1 slope, which is fairly gentle. The beach itself today is about 10-to-1. So with such little space and such gentle slopes, we are starting to reduce the amount of sand that we can put into this project area. Now, that doesn't mean that nothing can happen. So this is just an example of the existing conditions. Again, we're looking at the area just seaward of Salt Pond, west of its inlet, where there's a small bump, where there's an existing coastal dune, and then our beach. So the roadway right now is sitting at about 6 feet NAVD, which is maybe about 6 feet above mean sea level. Trying to keep the existing conditions as they are, keep Surf Drive as it is, keep the beach accessible, support the birds, build resilience. This is about the maximum feasible dune restoration that we could design. It would be a dune that goes about 2 feet above the elevation of the roadway, the edge of roadway, and slopes into the back and the near shore. That could be planted with beach grass, which is a very significant factor in stabilizing that sediment as long as it's given the time to grow and root. It just takes 1 year for beach grass roots to grow up to 6 feet, even 10 feet across and start to take hold in the sand. And there could be different public access paths provided where we're at Town Beach, or different collaboration with private property owners. However, that alternative there was a very small project, frankly. So we wanted to just explore the options to put as much sand as possible. But we also didn't want to fully go with, removing Surf Drive so that you can build the biggest beach you can. This is an alternative that looks at dropping 1 lane of Surf Drive. And I recognize that that has a whole cascading level of impact to its uses, the private property, the road races, the aesthetics, everything. But we are just exploring ways that we can get as much sand as we can into this system. So if we hypothetically removed one lane of surf drive, we could build a project up another foot higher. It could have a dune crest that was wider. Its slopes could be more gentle. We could work with natural heritage a little bit more easily and find something that's permittable. Placing sand in the footprint of where surf drive currently is would be a slam dunk with the regulators, essentially. So we've looked at these from a feasibility perspective. We are modeling them in the face of different coastal storms. Right now, these are the three alternatives that I just talked about. This is essentially no change to the existing condition on the top. The dune restoration project, which is relatively small, although we are vertically exaggerated here, in the middle, and then the larger dune restoration retreating surf drive. We modeled these against a 1-year storm, an annual storm, against a 5-year storm, and then against a 20-year storm. This is the result of the 5-year storm. And honestly, the results aren't very encouraging, given that there's a significant amount of erosion with such a low-level storm. So that's not too surprising, given that beach nourishment itself and dune restoration tends to need maintenance. You can come in and you can build a project such as the one, I think, I might be missing the word, but the town, Sudbury.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is there no subsurface armament with groin rock or any of that in these proposals?
In these proposals, no, there's not. So subsurface, armoring, holding the line essentially with a seawall or groin is not part of this project. The preferred pathway of the town of Falmouth in 2020 was to look at nature-based solutions, which is what this is.
Thank you.
I can go into more detail about that.
No, I'll just.
Oh, sure.
No, go ahead.
So I'll just quickly explain what we're looking at here, because they're pretty detailed and confusing. The black line on the top with the tan underneath it, that is the existing surface. You can see the roadway in gray. You can see the existing beach sloping into the near shore. You can see the water at mean sea level off to the right. And the red line is the post-storm profile. So that's not a permanent post-storm profile. Sand will come and go. But in the peak of the storm, at its most erosive, this is what we may see here. So the existing condition is showing that red line underneath the existing road by a foot or two. And what that essentially is telling us is the roadway will be undermined under a 5-year storm. This is Transect B, which is west of the Salt Pond Inlet, where there is the most narrow beach, the least amount of sand, the least existence of dune. This is the most vulnerable reach along Surf Drive. So we are showing an exaggerated condition compared to Town Beach to the east and Trunk River to the southwest. Under the proposed conditions, there is improvement. You can see that the red line, instead of undermining the roadway, it's scarping just adjacent to the roadway. So we've lost the project that we built, but we haven't lost the roadway. So building a small-scale project even can protect you under small-scale storms. And then thirdly, we have the project that's a bit larger, dropping a lane of Surf Drive, building a bigger dune. That storm comes through. It erodes the dune that we have. It deposits that sand in the near shore and on the beach. And the result is no undermining of the roadway and maintenance of a beach. We aren't seeing scarping at the edge of the roadway, so there's really no threat to the public infrastructure under that alternative. So all this to say that there are projects that can help us. We're under some pretty heavy constraints, like I talked about earlier, but there are ways that Surf Drive can be built out to have more resilience in the near term. We're talking about, again, a 5-year storm in this case, when the peak waves meet at the same time as the high tide and wash over Surf Drive. Any questions on this slide before I move on? Because there's, please, go ahead.
Ms. Goldstone, we'll start with you, and then Mr. Muscali.
I want to go one step beyond this storm. Assuming the red line profiles, there's still, I think, some beach, sorry, and I've got a glare as well, but there's still some degree of beach left. What kind of regulatory environment are we in with these beach profiles in terms of, you know, is there any possibility of doing another project with those profiles, or essentially is this, I was going to say the end of the road, and that would be a horrible pun, but like, is this it in terms of?
No, yeah, that's a great question. We've talked about that with the project team. It would be expected that a small project like this would be wiped out. We would have gotten it permitted under this hypothetical scenario, and it could then hypothetically be re-permitted, and it could just rebuilt as designed. So I think that this is a project that could be built time over time, you know, in response to storms. It could be built to then, you know, provide that last line of defense. The storm comes, washes through, it's washed out. The town of Falmouth then goes for another round of upping their permit and rebuilding. So that could be a near-term cycle, which the town engages in.
Mr. Muscali?
So just so I understand, when in slide 2 and 3, when you're saying the roadway is protected, it's not undermined, you can keep the roadway, but it's somewhat inaccurate in number 3 to say it's protected. It's protected, but it's lessened in width. Is that my understanding?
Yes, that's very fair, that the surf drive that we are protecting is different.
So, yeah, just, I'm afraid people might misconstrue that.
I appreciate that.
Particular option, so you
Yeah.
may want to tighten that up a little bit.
Thank you, I appreciate that, yes, absolutely. And also, you know, protected is from long-term damage, but there is also maintenance that will guaranteed be needed from Peter and his team after any of these storms. After, you can see this blue dotted line, that is showing the water level. So under all of these storms, we expect the water level to be about 1.5 or 2 feet above the road. That means overwash, and that means debris, et cetera.
Mr. Brown?
How often could we re-nourish the center, the roadway protected and the beach dune eroded, the middle one? Could we get a standing, is there such a thing? Like, we have standing permits for dredging that we do annually.
Yeah.
Is there one that we could get for dune restoration that after the storm, we could already be prepared to go back and put it back together?
Yeah, and Rebecca is saying yes here. Rebecca, do you want to provide a comment of any kind, or?
You can put that in your permit request, to have routine maintenance to go back to the same footprint.
Okay.
That could be part of your application.
Okay.
And another plus of routine maintenance is the continuous increasing of the sand in the littoral cell. So in this system, which we're looking at from Trunk River to Shore Street, the more sand, the more resilient and the long-lasting this beach will be. So each time you build the project, you're bringing in another, you know, several thousand cubic yards of material that will help to, you know, better you the next time.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Goldstone?
In these dune constructions, and I've never known how to say this, so you guys can tell me, are things like, is it core fiber rolls at the core of the dune? I'm seeing a head shaking. So this is literally just sand that we're piling in this shape and planted grass on.
And vegetation.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, there's no quar logs or quar fiber rolls proposed in this, and that yeah, from a regulatory standpoint, is not necessarily feasible, but also because that's not a typical, you know, a dune is built of just sediment and beach grass roots, so that's what we're trying to mimic here. But I should note that at Trunk River, you may have visited it yourself, the material is more coarse. There's cobbles and gravels. And so our design at Trunk River is a little bit different. It contains a core of cobble and gravel. And cobble and gravel responds differently to storms. It's more resilient. It absorbs wave energy. It can even build up and increase its steepness and elevation in response to storms. So the use of cobble is something that we're going to try to lean into wherever we can. Yeah. All right. So there are some pluses, there are some minuses. I do want to say that in the model, we also, you can see a kind of lime green light offshore there. We included eelgrass in this model to understand how it's impacting the waves and the stability of the shoreline. And the model, similarly to the scientific publications that indicate this, was showing that with eelgrass, surf drive is much better off than without eelgrass. But all of this is looking at a 5-year storm. So a 5-year storm is a low-level storm, high-frequency storm. It's nothing like Hurricane Bob or Hurricane Carol. And the long-term options for Surf Drive are honestly limited. So I want to just take the last slide to mention that in the Coastal Resiliency Report for Surf Drive, managed retreat is on the table for Surf Drive. What that means is removing accessibility by vehicle in the long term to Surf Drive. So we are exploring that a bit further in this project and what it actually means to go piece by piece and actually retreat our way methodically out of Surf Drive. What does that mean for residents? What does that mean for the public? What does that mean for the habitat? There are some pieces of critical infrastructure, the sewer line, there's a sewer main. The sewer line, I'm sorry, I should take more time to talk about, goes beneath the Shining Sea Bikeway. You can see this purple going through there. And that's the sewer line that pumps Woods Hole to the to the treatment facility. Then underneath Surf Drive itself, there's a water main. There's also gas lines, and the Martha's Vineyard energy line connection occurs underneath Surf Drive as well. There are private residential beaches, private residential homes on the beaches. We're looking at, how do we slowly phase out infrastructure, but not disrupt complete access to these homes? Can there be oversand vehicle access, et cetera? So we haven't explored this fully. We can come back and do another presentation if it comes to that. The crux of this project is looking at beach and dune nourishment feasibility, but just recognizing that what we built wasn't what we had hoped we could build at the end of the day. And it just kind of made it more obvious that this plan from 2020 is looking in a direction that Falmouth may have to look soon.
Mr. Muscali?
I can't imagine that we're unique in this problem, as troubling as it is. Are there any real-life situations that you're familiar with that have actually could give us some guidance as to what we might be looking at and what people might be thinking about?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in this report, we'll have a memo about the managed retreat aspect on its own, and we'll include a couple case studies. We are trying to answer that exact question. One that immediately comes to mind is my hometown, which is in Scituate, where Peggotty Beach is a barrier beach, much like Surf Drive. There's the open ocean, then there's the beach, which is a barrier, to the marsh on the landward side. That beach has slowly been marching back with time, and there was once a series of residential homes and a paved roadway. The town over time has removed that paving. It's moved its roadway from being on the seaward side of the homes to being on the landward side of the homes. It's been oversand vehicle access only. So there are examples in our state of this.
Those would be very helpful, so thank you.
Mr. Brown?
Have you done
Two
a
more
sand
comments.
grain analysis of the Surf Drive beach, and is it compatible with standard sand that you can get at the, like Lawrence and Lynch has, washed sand? And some people have suggested that we should be considering a regular nourishment and not worry about when the dredge is available and whether or not the soils are, the sand is compatible. And should we be maybe rolling that into our permit application, that would be our intended source?
Yeah, that's a great question. We did do a preliminary assessment of the sand grains just to give our models the right information. So we took a sample by Trunk River, at Moores Beach, at the public beach to the east. And so we saw a gradation of coarse sand by Trunk River, moving to kind of mixed grain, medium sands, more in the center of Surf Drive and also to the east. So yes, I think to your point, we do think that using coarser sand is better. It lasts a little bit longer. It reflects wave energy better and pushes the energy out. And your other point about the inlet dredging, I wanted to mention, we are also, led by Leslie, looking at how to better use the inlet material that we are pulling out of the inlets today, and how we can spread that across the beaches to support this project and others.
Ms. Goldstone?
Thank you. Two questions. Could you go back to the previous slide, please? So I think this rendering makes it very clear that when it comes to
Surf Drive as a whole, we've actually got, in my mind, 3 very distinct regions in terms of the challenges and constraints that we face. Have you looked at those separately? Is it worth looking at those separately in terms of how we move forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are 3 distinct areas. There is the bikeway reach, I would say, by Trunk River. There is the kind of private cottages and undeveloped beach area. And then there's the public beach and then the Mitchell Bathhouse fronting Bywater Court and others. Each of those is uniquely responding to storms in their own unique way. Trunk River is a narrow beach, but it's also made of cobble, so it's sticking around a little bit longer in the face of storms. However, it does have the most critical and vulnerable infrastructure with the bike path, so we are looking at that and those particular problems. Again, we talked a lot about the cottage area in Moores Beach, where there's no lack of dune, there's the water main, there's the roadway itself. We are talking about that probably the most as we look at Mansion Street. And then to the east, the public beach and the Mitchell Bathhouse and Bywater Court behind was actually the least vulnerable of the areas that we modeled. The dune that is there today is robust and providing a high level of protection. It might get washed out in one of the larger storms, but the roadway there under our alternatives was not shown to be vulnerable. At least in our model scenarios, there is, any extreme model storm that could cause damage that we didn't predict. But that area is the least vulnerable and the most complicated to retreat from. So we are looking at this from a real practical standpoint. What are the first things that the town needs to get on start to do? And we're really going to dig into that more so than the later steps.
Can I ask one last question?
One last, because we need to move on, and I want to take a public comment.
Right. So you've showed us a 5-year storm, which is a virtual certainty. I mean, certainly by 2030. What does a 20, 50, or 100-year storm look like?
So we modeled the 20-year storm, and any of the designs that we came up with completely washed away in under a 20-year storm. A 50-year storm and a 100-year storm would just be more extreme. So, the process towards looking at later moves might be moved up if there's an unexpected or a low-frequency storm. I mean, the history of this road itself is, you guys might well be aware that homes have been washed all the way up to the top of Salt Pond. And that's something that could happen again foreseeably.
Dr. Schneider, did you want to make a comment?
Barb Schneider, Chair of Beach Committee. So first, I want to say, sitting here and taking copious notes, this is why the Beach Committee pushed so hard to get a coastal resiliency coordinator. This is exactly what we saw that we are going to be dealing with going in the future. There was a good question asked about being able to permit so that you could keep going back to rebuild a footprint. That begs the question, has in your studies, is there any kind of record of how many 5-year storms we've had in the last 5 years, and how many more than 5-year storms have we had in the last 5 years? Because when we talk about rebuilding to a footprint, we need to think about how many times that amount of money and that amount of material would be needed.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great point. And just to the costs, the project, like Peter said, is on a tight timeline. We're going to be done by June 30th. There will be a public meeting on June 2nd for all those here. And by the end of the project, we will have estimates as to both the costs of a project, all of the alternatives that we look at, as well as the amount of value that they might bring in protective benefit.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the bad news.
Okay, we're going to move on. We're going to, Mr. Renshaw, a request from Cape Cod Oyster Co.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Back in December of last year, the Select Board held a public hearing for the transfer of a license to Cape Cod Oyster Company and approved the transfer of that license for the remainder of the 10-year term. which was through April 26, 2025. Mr. David Ryan of Cape Cod Oyster Company has submitted an application for renewal of this shellfish aquaculture license on March 5th of this year for a 10-year period. I understand this 10-year extension is pretty common, the request for. Cape Cod Oyster Company is requesting that 2 slight coordinate corrections be made to the license, and this information is included in your packet this evening. Position B, to fix a typographic error on the license, correct to 39 minutes from 30 minutes. And position D, and again, this is illustrated in your packet, to adjust the southeast corner less than 1/100th of 1 decimal degree, about 73 minutes, to fix a discrepancy between the license and the coordinates provided by Marine and Environmental Services. The total area is slightly smaller using the MES coordinates. Mr. Ryan is requesting a change in language on the license to reflect the correct method of growing, from growing oysters at all times of the year in racks that will sit on the ocean floor to, quote, culture techniques using floating baskets set along ropes on the surface. And Madam Chair and Select Board, this language is more specifically described in the order of conditions that were issued by the Conservation Commission in January of this year. And Madam Chair, I understand Mr. Ryan is here to present maybe some additional information and answer any questions that the board may have.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Mr. Renshaw summed it up pretty well when we applied for the transfer and you approved the transfer of the 2 licenses in December. The town attorney simply took the previous licenses and did really nothing other than change the name of the license holder. So they explored the option of doing the renewal immediately, but they decided against that. So they let that license expire, which was the end of April. So I'm here before you for that. So in the process of going before the Conservation Commission for the change of use, and then the Army Corps of Engineers for change of use, I did discover 2 small inconsistencies in the coordinates that were used, and so they were described by Mr. Renshaw. One was a typo that put one of the coordinates out in the middle of Vineyard Sound, and then the other one was, it was about a 73-foot change, that, not minute change, that was suggested by the Division of Marine Fisheries. So, so this kind of cleans that up, and then I ask that you just update the language to the culture techniques that have been approved by both Conservation and by the Army Corps of Engineers, and that we had talked about back in December when I was before you then.
Yeah, you had spoken about...
Questions from the board?
You had spoken, I think, the
Muscali?
last time about the different ways of doing it and that you wanted to bring it more in keeping with current ways of doing the oystering. Is that correct?
Correct. This culture technique is the same type of equipment that we're using pretty successfully over in Woquoit Bay. It's been well received over there by our neighbors. It's low profile. Conservation Commission was very much in favor of it because we got gear up off the ocean floor. Since March, or since February and March, the work that we did down at McGansett was, it's been really a big cleanup effort. So I've removed about eight big boatloads of old gear that was used by previous license holders. We've deployed some gear down there. I've got a barge that I inherited with that other business that I'll leave it out there this summer, but I'm pretty certain I'm going to remove it. I don't really have the need for a barge on site all the time. If I decide that I do need one, it would be much, much smaller than the one that's out there at this time.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Brown?
Do you envision that at some point you'll have mostly floating gear that would be just below the surface? Is that a goal?
So it's, at this site, I'm not interested in growing oysters in the bottom cages. So it would be exclusively in the surface gear.
But do they have to be floating, or can they be slightly below surface? Because now that we're starting to grow the program, we're starting to hear some negative feedback from some of the neighbors saying it's impactful to their vistas and views, and I'm wondering if that would be a feasible path forward.
The way that floating equipment works is that by being on the surface, you have the ability to dry the baskets that the oysters grow in. Things that are in the water immediately start to develop what we call biofouling, so seaweed that grows on the baskets. So by flipping them up out of the water about once every week or 10 days for a day or a half a day, it's enough to keep the gear clean. So the gear that I'm using is much lower profile than what was used, excuse me, when I first took over that Wacoit farm. So I think it's much more aesthetically pleasing. The Wacoit residents who are just hundreds of feet away from the farm over there have accepted it, quite well. I think you have a pretty good stack of letters that came from the residents over on the Sea Pit River that are pleased with what we're doing there.
Okay, thanks.
So
Mr.
it is
Muscali?
much lower profile than some types of floating gear, but yeah, it is still visible.
Okay.
At the Conservation Commission meetings, were there any objections raised by any of the abutting owners with respect to this issue?
No, it went through, pretty smoothly. It was quite a process to go through, and then the Army Corps permit was even much more extensive. So that was quite a document.
But other than the process, no real opposition from
No.
people about this new technique?
No.
Thank you.
I know I offered it in December, and I certainly we're into some better weather now, but I always would like to extend an open invitation to anyone from the board or town staff to come out to tour the farms or to see our facility. People tend to find it quite interesting.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? I would entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the request from Cape Cod Oyster Company, 179 Old Falmouth Road, Marston's Mills, to renew the shellfish aquaculture license number A15-06 for a 2-acre area located in Magansett Harbor and upweller aquaculture site measuring 20 feet by 8 feet fastened to a dock in Magansett Harbor for a 10-year period, and to correct the coordinates and the method of growing on the license.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm easy to reach either through Diane Davidson or Chuck Martinson's office. They know how to get me.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Farmers Market, Mr. Renshaw.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Select Board tonight is being asked to consider the approval of a request from Falmouth Farmers Market Incorporated for a waiver or reduction of the special event permit fee for Falmouth Farmers Market at Marina Park on Thursdays this year from May 22nd to October 16th. Madam Chair and Select Board, the applicant, who's here tonight, submitted this fee reduction or waiver request back on May 12th. A copy of that letter is attached to your packet. In accordance with the approved fee schedule, the permit fee for this event is calculated based upon a rather complicated formula. I can point your attention to a sheet that Diane Davidson in our office provided, which shows that if no reductions were given, the calculation of the standard permit fee would come out to $1,450. Over the past 9 years, the Select Board has voted to reduce the special events permit for this particular event to a $200 fee, plus an additional $500 in-kind donation to take care of the garden in front of the Harbor Master's office. I recall last year this similar request. The event was canceled in 2020 due to the pandemic. As I mentioned earlier, the event's going to take place on Thursdays from May 22nd through October 16th between the hours of 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Setup is at 9:30 a.m., takedown by 4 p.m. each of those days. The event is expected to draw between 100 to 400 attendees per day. And Madam Chair, again, the applicant's here to answer any questions about my recommendation. Again, based upon previous decisions to reduce the special event permit fee for the past 9 years, I'm recommending that the Select Board consider approving a reduction of these fees to a $200 permit fee and that $500 in-kind donation for the care of the Harbor Master's office garden.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board to the applicant?
Well, actually, I noticed that your budget shows that you're like operating in the red. Is that accurate?
It is. With the winter market that we started at St. Barnabas, we are a little bit behind where we've been previously. So we had a few unfortunate vendors with unfortunate health issues that pulled out of the winter market, so messed that up a little bit, but we're aiming for a great season this summer, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, Ms. Goldstone?
No, I think especially with that information, answers my question of how much of a hardship the 75% reduced fee would be. And it's certainly, I think, an incredible service and benefit for the town. So I would move approval of the reduction of the special event permit fee to a $200 permit fee with a $500 in-kind donation for the care of the Harbor Master's Office Garden for the Falmouth Farmers Market at Marina Park, taking place on Thursdays from May 22nd to October 16, 2025.
I'd second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Love it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to talk about the New England Festival's request for a waiver of the special event permit. Mr. Renshaw.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Lillian Kazanis, did I pronounce that correctly?
How are you?
Is here tonight with New England Festivals Incorporated. Again, Lillian has requested that the Select Board consider a waiver of the special event permit fee for the Harbor Light Illumination Concert Series and Night Markets. While this is the third consecutive year the event's going to be held, this year's event is the first in which the applicant has requested a fee waiver. So we have no precedent in terms of how to handle the fees. The Harbor Light Illumination Concert Series and Night Market is approved for 6 Saturdays on July 5th, the 12th, July 19th, and August 9th, August 16th, and August 23rd of this year. Madam Chair and Select Board, the special event permit fee is $200 per day for 6 days for a total of $1,200. For a reduction of the permit fee for the 6 days, the first and last day is $400. Reduction of 75% of the remaining 4 days is $200 for a total of $600 for a reduced special event permit fee. This is a recurring event which has been held in 2024 for 6 days, 2023 for 2 days. As is the last event, it was canceled in 2020 due to the pandemic, and back in 2019 it was held for 3 days. Madam Chair and Select Board, it's the Town Manager's Office recommendation to approve the request from Lillian Kazanis for a full waiver of the special event permit fee for the Harbor Light Illumination Concert Series and Artesian Market being held at Marina Park. And again, Ms. Kazanis is here to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions from the board regarding this request? Ms. Goldstone?
As noted, this is the first time you're asking for a waiver of the special permit fee, and can I ask why?
Yes, I would have been here in years past bothering you. I didn't know that as a nonprofit I was eligible to, there was a waiver fee. I definitely would have been here many times prior. And the other thing I just wanted to bring to your attention, I'm sure you're aware, you saw my letter, that the town actually gave me a grant to be able to do this. And across the board, you were all very supportive, and thank you during my public hearing and that whole process. But that grant that you issued me is null and void. It's effectively, it gets canceled out by these fees, so it doesn't allow me to utilize them the way that I'm supposed to. So with that being said, there was other information I think I sent to Diane just with what I have given back over the years and what I would like to be able to continue to do. I mean, I've been working with Mr. Borning and different departments and just finding out what are the needs so that I can directly help them and help in that way. So again, it's a free event that's donation based. So if someone chooses to donate, they can, and those donations are what's going back to the town anyhow. So I would appreciate your consideration of the fees and the licenses. I understand, the liquor license, of course. The entertainment license, I'm just curious. I never had to get one of those before, but with the new regulations, I do understand that's part of that process. But I think considering I am utilizing the space in the town that is intended for entertainment, I just would hope you would take that into consideration as well. I think that was it.
It's a wonderful organization. The pay what you can method and model is very much appreciated. So I would certainly support the waiver as requested.
Is that your motion, Mr. Muscali?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I recommend that the Select Board approve the request from Lillian Kazanis of New England Festivals for a full waiver of the special event permit fee for the Harbor Light Illumination Concert Series and Artisan Market being held at Marine Park on Saturdays, July 5th, 12th, 19th, August 9th, 16th, and 23rd, 25th.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hope to see you all there.
Okay, next up, Falmouth Beach Hotel Realty Trust, DBA Beach Breeze. Mr. Renshaw?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The application, which you have in your packet this evening, was received on May 1st. The owner is Falmouth Beach Hotel Realty Trust. The manager is Rosalind Van Havel. Per the application, Madam Chair and Select Board, the business will not be operated as a bed and breakfast at this time, as there will be no food service. I understand it's contemplated in the future, but at this time, there will be no food service. The application has been reviewed by the Police, Conservation Commission, Building, and Health Departments, and no concerns have been expressed by any of those departments. And lastly, the Building Commissioner has approved a floor plan and certificate of inspection has been issued.
Thank you, Mr. Renshaw. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Rosalind Van Hovel, General Manager for the Beach Breeze Inn.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant?
Seems pretty simple.
Yep.
Okay.
Make a comment. In
Yes.
2011, when my wife and I came to Falmouth for the very first time, we had a very enjoyable night spent at the Beach Breeze Inn, and I hope you guys continue it in the same fashion that it has been for many years. So thank you.
Thank you. You're always welcome to come back for an anniversary.
I would, if there are no comments, I would entertain a motion. Mr. Muscali?
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the application by Falmouth Beach Hotel Realty Trust, DBA Beach Breeze Inn, for a lodging house license to be executed at 312 Shore Street, Falmouth, as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're back to the Blue Moon Sea Grill, Mr. Renshaw.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First off, I want to apologize to the board and to Mr. Clower for having this kind of buried towards the end of the agenda, having to sit through this. So we'll do a better job. My commitment, do a better job, make sure we place these closer. Madam Chair, the application was submitted on April 24th. All requirements for the application, according to the office, were complete. Building Commissioner approved the floor plan submitted with the app. A site plan review decision is included with the application and is part of your packet this evening. It's my understanding the establishment will have a seating capacity of 117. Fire rescue, planning, police, and the health departments have all reviewed the application and have expressed no concerns or objections to its approval. A liquor license, and that's all I have in the packet, and Mr. Clower is here to answer any specific questions you may have.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Kind of goes with the rest of it, doesn't it? The easy part.
It'd be kind of
It
weird
is the
to grant
easy
us the other ones and not this one.
Alcohol and entertainment without a
Had to wait for that.
Sorry.
I don't have much to add. I think, we've sort of outlined the operation, and, again, happy to address any questions that the board might have.
Don't have any.
You didn't enjoy spending your whole evening with us?
Sadly, I probably would have watched it if I wasn't here.
Oh, you need to get a life.
You should talk to my wife.
Madam Chair, I move approval of the application for a common victualler license by Blue Moon Sea Grill, Inc., DBA Hooked, as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Very quickly, on a personal note, Mr. Zielinski, Ms. Taylor, I've been before you guys a lot over the past few years. I want to thank you both for your years of service. Scott, you and I have done a lot of work together between your time on the zoning board and this board. What you've both done is very commendable, and I have really enjoyed the opportunity to work with you guys. So thank you.
Thank you
That's
very much.
because you know I know your in-laws now, right?
I would have said that anyways.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Okay, consider a vote to approve an application by the curator. Mr. Renshaw.
Thanks, Madam Chair. As the board knows, secondhand dealer licenses are annual licenses, and they expire on April 30th of each year. Ms. Phyllis Downey in our office has been working with the applicant. An application to renew the 23-24 license was not received, and the license expired on April of this year. Ms. Downey has been in communication with the applicant, trying to get this rectified. The manager had been advised by email and phone that a new license is going to be needed and that the curator would need to cease operations until this new license was issued. Town background check was completed on May 8th of this year. Applicant for a new secondhand dealer license was received on May 9th in the Select Board office, which met all of the requirements. The application has been reviewed by the Building, Police, Fire, Rescue, and Zoning offices, and no objections or concerns or issues were noted. The manager-owner, Miss Mary Brady, who I believe is here.
This is Lena, I think, her daughter.
Sorry, apologies, Lena.
We did get an email late that you
Okay.
would be standing in for your mom.
Has advised that, depending on flight times and travel, she may be represented by her daughter tonight. So Lena is here to answer any questions the board may have. But again, want to thank the owner, working with Phyllis Downey. It took a while. The goal is to be consistent and to ensure that all of these businesses have the adequate and appropriate licenses. And I want to thank the business for working with our office to get that done.
Any questions of Ms. Brady? Are you nervous?
A little bit, yes.
I can tell. We're easy. Any questions or comments for the applicant?
No, I don't have any.
I would entertain a motion.
I would make a motion to approve the application by the curator, 17 Walker Street, Unit A, Falmouth, for a secondhand dealer license.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Good job.
Tell your mother you need a raise.
Okay, discuss and consider a vote to send a letter to Mass Development. Mr. Renshaw.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the board recalls, on May 5th, our last meeting, I presented some information in regards to a January 31st formal written request from the town of Barnstable to Mass Development to consider including in the master planning of Joint Base Cape Cod a feasibility study for the location of a joint commercial, joint military and civilian airports at Joint Base Cape Cod. A copy of that town of Barnstable request is in your packet. There was a resident of Ballymead who spoke that evening on May 5th to express some of his concerns to the board, in addition to the concerns that were discussed during the ensuing discussion in terms of quality of life impacts. The board directed me to first reach out to Mass Development in an effort to gain some additional information on the status of the town of Barnstable request. We did that. There was a little bit of delay getting some information back. However, last week, Wednesday, I had a meeting out at Joint Base Cape Cod, the MC3 committee that I'm a part of, and ran into the vice president of Mass Development, who's actually in charge of this master planning process. And he and I had a great discussion after the MC3 meeting. He provided a copy of the Mass Development response to the January 31st Town of Barnstable request. That Mass Development response letter dated February 20th is also included in your packet. Again, after the discussion, board directed me to, in addition to reaching out and getting the status update, and I can say this, the response letter from Mass Development indicated that they appreciated the interest and looked forward to working with the town of Barnstable as a stakeholder and regional participant in the process. So that gave me every indication that it was going to be considered by Mass Development to incorporate that feasibility study. So to that end, I drafted a letter that's included in your packet, again, at the direction of the Select Board, once I was able to verify kind of the status of the town of Barnstable request. Drafted a letter to Mass Development to generally outline the concerns of the Select Board. I was remiss and missed one of those concerns. Select Board Member Brown had indicated that environmental concerns were of paramount importance, and I think I hit the quality of life in terms of air traffic safety and noise and traffic congestion, but completely missed on the environmental aspects. Madam Chair and Select Board, I'll be happy to answer any questions and certainly incorporate that environmental concern. I'll ask for some additional detail. Fuels and aviation fuels, avgas, potential spills, I think are some of the concerns of operating a large-scale airport at that facility.
Our aquifer?
Yeah.
Aquifer is the big one for me.
That's what I would say, the increased commercial activity above the aquifer is like, I think how I phrased it. Sole source aquifer, that is.
So I'll certainly go back and retool, reword that to include those concerns about environmental impact on the aquifer, and with board's consent, and move forward with submitting that letter to Mass Development.
I would
Would the
agree
board
with
be
that.
okay with that?
Certainly.
If that paragraph is added and then we send that out?
Yeah, otherwise I think the letter is fine.
And I also wanted to say, Madam Chair, mention that I had a good conversation with the vice president, and his name is escaping me right now. It's probably included in some of these documents. At any rate, the project lead for the
Craig
master plan
Tamash?
study. It was Eric.
Eric Hickinson?
Thank you. That is it exactly. And Eric indicated to me that there's going to be a very robust public participation engagement process as part of this. If the feasibility study were to be included in the master planning process, his commitment was that there was going to be a very robust public participation process, and welcomed not only the town of Falmouth comments, but all the other surrounding municipalities as well.
Okay.
So we need to, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, one question, I guess. My understanding from what you described in the letter is that it sounds like town of Barnstable, there was an implication of some direct contact between Mass Development and the town in terms of concerns, and I'm wondering if a public participation process is different where we're submitting comments, is that a different level of engagement? Because I think as we're kind of expressing here, we want to make sure that as an abutting town, we are at that same level of engagement directly with Mass Development, if that needs to be stipulated beyond a public participation process.
And I can state that as part of this, the MC3 committee that I sit on, and you all know General Foe from the base, each quarter we attend, representatives from regional municipalities attend those meetings, and that is going to be one of the venues where we're going to have, sitting around a table, have direct interaction and discussions with Eric from Mass Development. But I can get some more details and particulars about what that public engagement process will look like, because I agree. I think, simply, and I'm not saying this is what Mass Development proposes, but an online survey with a deadline for submitting comments is probably not adequate for something of this scope.
And certainly not what this board, I think, would be looking for.
Yeah, I guess I was wondering if it would be worth putting, we do say as direct abutters and a major stakeholder. I guess it would be redundant to say we look forward to a robust stakeholder and public participation process, but just making sure that it's clear we expect to be involved on the level of other towns. But it sounds like you feel that would be the case through the channels that we're currently part of.
We're certainly going to have a voice, and my commitment is to ensure that, well, number one, there's transparency, and number two, there's public participation above and beyond, again, what I've seen over the past couple of years with regards to the online survey, having an opportunity to submit online comments. I'm not saying they may use that method, but my expectation is there's going to be some face-to-face community forums.
And also information being put out to the public each step of the way, because I don't think we had that even in the beginning of this.
So that's my commitment to Select Board. I can't sit here and tell you and dictate, obviously, how Mass Development is going to run its public participation, but rest assured, we'll do our part to make sure that they know our concerns and that we want that face-to-face dialogue versus the online submittal of comments.
In your discussions, is there any involvement with the Cape Cod Commission? Did you hear of any involvement with the commission?
There was a representative with the commission at last week's MC3 meeting, but I'm not aware of any direct dialogue or interaction with Cape Cod Commission. I would imagine there will be.
I think there would be, sure. Okay, thank you.
So we do need to vote. So if we could adjust the motion.
Yes, I would move that we approve sending the attached letter amended to include a paragraph addressing environmental concerns, particularly concerns about increased commercial activity above our sole source aquifer, sending that letter to Mass Development. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I'd second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Okay, discuss and consider a vote to approve an amendment to the 2025 Select Board meeting calendar to add the June 3rd meeting. Mr. Renshaw, did you want to make any comments about that?
Well, just, it's included in your packet. Back in December 9th of last year, the board approved what is now the 2025 meeting calendar. A copy of that calendar is included in your packet. I apologize, the pages are a little bit mixed up, but all 12 of them are there, all 12 months. And the request by Select Board Member Muscali, last time we met, or the suggestion, I should say, was that the board consider adding a June 3rd meeting because of the time interval in between this meeting and what was the next approved June meeting. And it's my recommendation, Madam Chair, that the board consider adding this June 3rd meeting for the reasons that Select Board Member Muscali indicated, that the interval period in between was excessive.
Thank you. Any conversation, concern?
You know, it's a good idea. Could have had a nice month off.
We got to get those new board members in here quick.
Yes.
I move we approve amendment of the 2025 Select Board meeting calendar to add a June 3rd meeting date as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay, I'm going to go through the consent agenda. Please notify me as the chair if you would like to hold any article on this consent agenda. Licenses, considered a vote to approve an application by the Falmouth Yacht Club, Inc., a nonprofit club located on 290 Clinton Ave, Falmouth, for a change of officers of its all-alcoholic club license. Consider a vote to approve the application by the Falmouth Road Race, Inc. for a special one-day wine and malt liquor license. Falmouth Road Race VIP tent, Falmouth Heights, Sunday, 8/17/25, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Consider a vote to approve the application by the Holistic Swan LLC for a change of address to its fortune teller license to 24 Spring Barge Road, Building 1, Unit A in Falmouth. Consider to vote to approve the application of the Barnstable County Agriculture Society for a special one-day wine and malt liquor license, Barnstable County Fair, Cape Cod Fairgrounds, 1220 Nathan Ellis Highway, East Falmouth, Monday, 7/21, Sunday, 7/27, 12 noon to 10 p.m. Consider a vote to approve the application by Martha Gilbert, Gilbert Bridal Shower, for a special one-day wine and malt beverages license to be executed at the West Falmouth Library, 575 West Falmouth Highway, West Falmouth, on June 7th, 2025, from 2:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Consider a vote to approve the surrender of the all-alcoholic beverages restaurant license 00055-RS-0390, Silver Lounge, Inc., doing business as the Silver Lounge, 412 North Falmouth Highway, North Falmouth. Consider a vote to approve a correction of the license type of an already approved license from a special one-day wine and malt to a special one-day all-alcohol liquor license for the Lupus Foundation of New England, Cape Cod Food Truck and Craft Beer Festival, Cape Cod Fairgrounds, 1220 Nathan Ellis Highway, East Falmouth, Saturday, 8/16/25, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Could I just ask a question? And I didn't.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind.
Do you want to hold it, or do you want to act? Go ahead, Mr. Muscali.
Well, maybe it doesn't need to be held, but with respect to number 4, it's for a special one-day wine and malt liquor license for 7 days, 6 days. Am I understanding that correctly? Or are we issuing a one-day license for every day?
Correct.
Looks like every day, yeah.
Is that still a one-day license?
It's a series of one-day licenses.
A
yes.
series of one-day licenses. Okay, then fine.
You okay?
We've done that,
Yeah,
we've done that for a long, long
Yeah.
time.
And that was number 4 that you had the question. Okay. All right, administrative orders. Consider a vote to reappoint Kimberly Fish to the Barnstable County Home Consortium Advisory Council.
Madam Chair, I don't think you hit 7.
I did. I talked about the Lupus Foundation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
My bad.
Any question on that? Okay. Consider a vote to approve a letter of support for the Habitat for Humanity of Cape Cod One Stop for Growth grant program application. Consider a vote to approve the solar rooftop lease for the Senior Center, 780 Main Street. Consider a vote to approve a letter of support for the Route 151 Water Main Extension One Stop for Growth grant plan application. Consider a vote to approve a letter of support for the local comprehensive plan update on One Stop for Growth plan application. Consider a vote to approve a Mass DEP Technical Assistant Grant extension. Consider a request to use funds from the Recreation Department donations account in the amount of $863.97 to purchase eco-friendly marketing items for distribution at community events.
Hold, please.
Thank you. Consider the approval of a letter of support for the Cape and Islands District Attorney's Office for additional funding for an elder abuse and fraud investigation unit.
Madam Chair, I'll move the consent agenda with the exception of Ms. Goldstone's hold on Administrative Order 7 for the last time.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve holding Administrative Order 7. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, let's go back to number 7. Ms. Goldstone.
Considering our recreation director is here, I thought I would give her an opportunity to tell us a little bit more about the eco-friendly marketing items and what we might expect for our $863.97.
Hi, Julie Williams-Tinkham, Recreation Director. It's nice to see everybody. Our eco-friendly items that we're planning to purchase for marketing include pencils that are made with newsprint. So those recycled newsprint, so when you sharpen them, it actually looks like newsprint. We also recycled plastic pens, so that the whole barrel is recycled, as well as sunglasses in maroon, the appropriate color for town, not crimson, that has, they're also made with 100% recycled plastic. So it's not just marketing items, but making sure that we are choosing eco-friendly ones.
Good.
Great.
Any questions?
No?
Nope, thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the request to use funds from the Recreation Department donations account in the amount of $863.97 to purchase eco-friendly marketing items for distribution at community events.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to move into the review of the minutes. So review and consider a vote to approve minutes of meetings, public session, September 10, 2022, April 28, 2025, May 5, 2025. Did everyone have an opportunity to review them?
Madam Chair, I move approval of the minutes for meetings, public session, September 10th, 2022, April 28, 2025, and May 5th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Town managers report.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Renshaw?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few items. Select Board Member Goldstone mentioned it. It's so important, I want to restate it, the invitation to everyone in the community to come out this Thursday evening at 6:30, from 6:30 to 8, for the Trotting Park Ball Fields Community Forum. We're going to have representatives from Arcadis, our licensed site professional, as well as a couple of folks from Mass DEP.
Correct.
To answer questions. The major intent of the hour and a half is to provide opportunity for residents to ask questions. So there are going to be some presentation materials by Arcadis, but the meat of the evening is going to be to allowing residents to ask questions about the most recently completed site investigation report that talks a lot about some of the monitoring wells that were recently completed and some of the results of those. The other update I wanted to provide, we're really excited about this. You actually utilized it in your packets this evening. The launch of the new Civic Plus automated agenda management system. The automation part is great, but the important part I want to talk about tonight is for the folks in the community that actually log onto the website to look at the packet. It's going to be a lot more interactive, rather than a static PDF document. If you haven't seen it yet, I'd encourage community members to go to the homepage and click on the Agenda and Minutes button and then select Select Board, because right now the Select Board is the only body that's currently using the system. The great thing about Civic Plus, our partner, is that there's no limit to the number of boards or committees that can use this new system. We're talking to Judd Cornock, the town planner, perhaps going to get the planning board slowly implementing this new system. But the great feature of this site, of this new portal, is the interactive nature of it. We're actually going to be posting the videos that Falmouth Community TV produces for us, which now you have to kind of search through some YouTube app. We're actually going to place a link directly on the website portal at each meeting once those videos become available. Just make it more convenient for folks to find the information.
Great.
But what we have on our iPads here does not contain that interactive yet? Is it coming?
Well, there's a lot of interactive features as part of your packets once you have the login credentials, and we'll go
Right.
through that
Yeah,
training.
at home,
Yep,
but
yep.
with respect to what we have here.
It doesn't have the video link that I'm talking about. The portal on the website, and I probably should have had it prepared to run through an example. When you go to the agenda minutes in the past, it literally was just a combination of a bunch of PDF documents. You need to kind of search through it. Now it's a little bit easier to find.
Oh, it's much easier, but I think what we have before us at the meetings doesn't seem to have the same capabilities as what we had, which I looked at over the weekend. That's
Yeah, I'm a little slow this evening. Peter seems to be catching on to your question a lot better than I am.
It's all right.
So,
It's a long night.
I've had a cold. I've had a cold for the past week, so go
Hey,
ahead.
I've done well on time.
Yes, you have.
No, you nailed it, Mike. The one addition is that what you have on your tablet is both a link to the website and the interactive, same that you had at home, and as a backup, a static PDF. You clearly pulled up the static
Well,
PDF.
it didn't direct me
Okay.
to something else, so the point is to go
So,
to that
we'll-
interactive portal with this, okay.
Yes.
So what I did this evening is actually went to the website, the homepage of the town's website, clicked on in the left-hand side of the page that agenda and minutes, and it actually pulls that up, so.
I like
That's
the
great.
fact that you can easily find old minutes and old packets as well.
Keyword searchable, past minutes, and again, Diane Davidson in our office has done the bulk of the work in terms of the implementation and rollout, so kudos to her. But yeah, searchable, keyword searchable minutes, and again, just a lot more convenient access, I think, for residents to find the information.
One thing I find is I'm a little, I still have some learning to do about how to work with this, because the top half is all these different choices, so I can only get this limited view to read. So it was a little bit troublesome for me to read the packet this weekend. And then I got to a certain point, and it was just shutting off. And I don't know if it's, my iPad is old, but then also tonight, as I was scrolling through, I was getting blank pages, and I had to scroll past about 6 or 8 pages, which were content, because I remember.
Yeah,
And
and
so-
you're using the Wi-Fi, because sometimes, I noticed also that if you were trying to go too fast, it took a while for the page to load. I think that was one of the issues
Oh,
that
well,
I
maybe I
found.
just didn't wait long enough, but they were gray or black, and maybe they eventually loaded, but I went past them. Okay, well, we'll get used to it.
Were you planning to have some kind of a tutorial?
Yes,
for
we're
this?
gonna do that. I think
We
Diane
discussed that.
pushed out some videos, but we will set up some training, because the technology is only obviously as good as our ability to use it. So, yeah, we're gonna set up some training. We'll wait, well, sadly, we'll have an opportunity when the new select board comes on, right? In June, we'll put together some training, to get everybody up to speed on it. Any other questions on that? I just wanted to push that out.
Appreciate it.
The other update I wanted to give, I spoke about this briefly last meeting on May 5th, but Hatchville Fire Station, as anticipated, the four-fold doors, the new doors, were delivered a week ahead of schedule, last week. Installation is going pretty smoothly. They've got the middle bay hung already, and they're working on the additional bays right now. So we're still, Chief Smith told me this afternoon that we're still on track for completing the installation of those four-fold doors early to mid-June. And again, the commitment right now is to try to, if staffing levels, and again, the trend remains constant, we're going to make every effort to open Hatchville beginning in July. And lastly, several months ago, Police Chief Laurie and I had a discussion about the need for a police K-9 unit. And the need is real. In the past, and Vice Chair Zelinski and perhaps others know that we've relied on other jurisdictions to provide those K-9 services, and sometimes those resources, when we need them the most, are not available. So Chief Laurie and I have had the discussion. I requested that Chief Laurie begin exploring some options. We're currently, and I just had a meeting this afternoon with Deputy Chief Lowen. We're currently finalizing some details on the training and certification. I understand there's an off-Cape facility that was going to be a little bit problematic. So we're trying to find some easier and more accessible training and certification for the officers that have been identified to participate. Chief Laurie and the command staff have identified some officers. They are also in the process of completing a capital request. All the capital requests are due July 14th this year for November town meeting for some of the equipment and outfitting the vehicles, the specialized vehicles that would be required. So the process is moving, perhaps not as quickly as we had hoped a couple of months ago, but the process is moving forward. And Madam Chair, that's all I have.
Thank you for that update. Select Board reports. Ms. Goldstone?
Saturday morning, I participated in the first annual Opal Lee Walk that I've been telling everybody about and as did Mr. Johnson Staub, and I don't know, 2 or 3 dozen others. I think it was a nice size for a first go at this. It was a really nice 2.5-mile walk down and along Surf Drive and back up Mill Road with some lovely historical facts and reflections provided by Morse Pond and Lawrence School students. So it was a really nice morning, and the Juneteenth committee did ask me at that point. We did the Juneteenth proclamation and said that we would have someone at the Juneteenth celebrations to read that. If there are no objections, I'm happy to do that, represent the select board and read that proclamation. But they did want to know who was going to be doing that.
That's great, if you're available.
I'll just say, as you know, I sit on the EDIC as the town's representative, just to let you know that the EDIC is moving forward with a re-proposal of the development of that parcel that is adjacent to or part of the train station property. That was a proposal was floated a couple of years ago, and the design wasn't really well accepted. So they are actively engaged in re-looking at that and getting a proposal out at some point. So.
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, on Saturday, Mr. Miscali and I both were able to attend, Saturday.
It was last Saturday.
Last Saturday, attend the Veterans Center to hear the annual report, and they're doing great. They're having a great year. They're hitting all their goals. It doesn't mean they don't need more donations. They can always use more. But it was very encouraging, and I really enjoyed that. And also, this Saturday, I attended the Veterans Center. Sebastian Junger, the author of many books, and recently he wrote a book called Tribe, which he talks about the importance of connections in groups of humans and how that human interaction can't really be replaced. And he came up with a program to help veterans to communicate and kind of share their stories. It's called Veterans Town Hall, where on Veterans Day, in towns that previously had no official services, they would open up the town hall with just a couple of staff members, I guess, and they would have opportunities for veterans to share their stories with each other. And I don't know if that's something that would really work well in Falmouth, because, I mean, the program could work, but probably not on Veterans Day itself, because we already have such a huge activity. And we explained that to Mr. Junger, but I was wondering if maybe at some point we might have opportunities to share this space for veterans to be able to come and maybe do those activities on a day other than Veterans Day. And then maybe we could use FCTV cameras or something. So it's just a thought. It's not put together yet, but it might come back.
Any other reports?
I have a couple. I attended the CCMPO today and instructed them, when you're successful tomorrow with your re-election, that I'll get you hooked up with them at the CCMPO, that you had some interest in that. You may
Very good.
ask some questions.
Thank you.
I have a couple comments, if I may. Mike, thank you for the update on the working dog program, and I would ask the board members to please keep that in your line of sight. It's such an important tool for these guys and ladies out there on the job. It's an important thing. And finally, Heather, you struck something with me that when you gave me this pen and you said that we often didn't see eye to eye. I think that's what made this board work, is that there was an open dialogue and there was a balance to this board. And finally, I want to thank Mike and Peter and the staff, because one of the things and get this, Devin, one of the things you don't understand when you are running for a position like this, you think you know what you know, but at the end of the day and on your last day, you have a clear picture of how hard the departments work to serve this town and how under pressure they are always. And they all need to be commended, and I would be the first one to stand up and do that. So thank you for everything, both of you. Make sure you pass my sentiments on to the rest.
Will do.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I would say I agree with you on the need for the police dog program, because, you know, when an officer pulls over a vehicle and they suspect the vehicle might be carrying drugs, and they need a dog to get there in a certain time frame, or else they have to release the
52
person.
minutes, I was there.
They have to release them if they can't.
Thank you, because I'm going to hold you accountable for that, on that side of the podium.
Okay.
And can a dog provide cause?
No, a dog can detect
Well,
and
and
alert.
that gives you probable
And-
cause.
Yeah,
Right.
the dog does
Exactly.
give
Which
you
is the point
reasonable
of
cause.
needing it.
Correct.
And the good news about it is, they're more concerned with the drug detection and firearms dog. You know, everybody thinks police dog, or bite dog, all this. They want to be able to get these dangerous felons with fentanyl dealers and all this off the road as soon as possible. So,
Right.
thank you, sorry about that.
And I would just like to thank the board and also the community of Falmouth for certainly allowing me to serve this incredible community for 30 years. It's been a pleasure, it's been an honor, it's been a struggle, and I just wish the board the very best, and I hope, and I know that you will continue to do the very best for our town. And I want to thank Mike. I think Mike has been amazing to work with, and certainly Peter, who has worked really hard to assist Mike and to help Mike and get up to speed with all of his knowledge. And I just wish you all the very best and continued success.
Excellent.
Mr. Muscali, would you please do a motion to
I will make
adjourn?
a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thanks, guys.
The Steamship Authority is a proud partner in many Falmouth community events, including town meeting coverage. And for good reason. Not only do we have a terminal and offices here, about 1/3 of our employees call Falmouth their home. We always work hard to serve our neighbors, friends, and the traveling public. We recently put 7 new electric buses into service at our Falmouth parking lots. Soon we'll be adding new vessels to our fleet, continuing work on our energy-efficient Woods Hole terminal buildings, and adding solar panels at our largest parking lot. At the Steamship Authority, we're serving the islands. And you.
Welcome to the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce. The Falmouth Chamber is dedicated to working on behalf of our members to make Falmouth a better place to live, work, and conduct business. We are committed to developing the economic, cultural, educational, and civic interests of our community and welcome the support from all organizations to achieve our combined goals. Whether you call Falmouth home, are a summer resident, or a visitor, we hope you take advantage of all that the Chamber has to offer.
Hosting services for FCTV.org are provided by MegaNet Communications. MegaNet offers a wide array of internet services including Mega Backup Cloud Service, server colocation, T1, fiber, Metro Ethernet, as well as telephone services such as hosted PBX and digital voice. Their #1 goal is to keep your communications network up and running and allow you to focus on growing your business. 877-634-2638 or meganet.net.